6. Larix, continuing the tradition.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Start your spring cleaning early with 11% off everything at Menards. Declutter and organize your home with a new Dakota closet system. They come in a wide variety of sizes and styles to match your specific needs. From easy-to-install units to fully customizable systems, Dakota's got it all. Save with 11% off all Dakota storage solutions. Good through March 19th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Montgomery County veterans, we're here to serve you. You served your country, and now it's time we served you. You are entitled to many VA benefits, to include compensation, pension, and more. Call 937-225-4801 or online at mcvsc.org.
Rob tried to manage his constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating day after day. After realizing it was irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C, he found another way and finally said yes to adding Linzess.
Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Talk to a doctor today. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by AbbVie and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
Fed up with companies selling your data? DuckDuckGo is on it. They help millions of people like you take back their privacy online. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
You know, there's just certain days where, as a sports talk radio host, I'm like, you know what? There's just nothing to talk about. Today's not one of them.
Facts.
Today's not one of them. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome in. It is the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The bracket is set. We now know who's dancing, and we know where they're dancing, and we're going to talk a lot of college basketball today. Of course, we know where the Wright State Raiders are playing, and it's kind of where we all assumed at UD Arena. You know, they're no stranger to UD Arena. They're always welcome at UD Arena. But the Wright State Raiders will play in their fourth NCAA tournament appearance at UD Arena for the first time in the first four against Bryant, and last I checked, a 3.5-point favorite, Kev. So it's kind of strange. Wright State's in the NCAA tournament, and they're the favorite. You don't say that often, but that's what the unique thing, that's kind of the unique aspect of the first four, is while some people like to downplay it and like to say, man, that's not the real tournament, and I might add, it is the real tournament. It is the NCAA tournament, and you know, and that's how you have a chance to pick up a win. I'd much rather be a 16 in a first four with an opportunity to win a game than to be pitted against a number one seed right off the bat. And again, no coach or player will say, yeah, we don't have a shot. But I think we know history tells us that they kind of don't have a shot. But again, crazier things have happened. Only one 16 seed has ever knocked off a number one seed. So there's that. Sorry for the echo for those who are just tuning in. We got that fixed. Thanks, Jake. I think we got it fixed. Jake, give me the thumbs up in the chat section so I know that got fixed. But what a day. There is a ton to dive into. The Bengals are finally doing what they said they were going to do. They're protecting Joe Burrow. The Reds are doing their part to make sure that they out Mike Brown. Let's see. The Dayton Flyers are in the tournament, just not the tournament. They're going to be playing at a school in the state of Ohio. You know how much they love doing that. So that's key. The Cleveland Browns, they bring in a big piece over the weekend, and they let a big name go earlier this afternoon. Let's see. Am I missing something? Oh, I said the Cincinnati Reds trying to out Mike Brown. There's so much to get into. Kev's team adds a quarterback. The Browns don't know. To QB or not QB, that's the question for Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. So much going on. Lots to dive into. So let's dive into it, shall we? Yes, there's music playing in the background because we can't just go off of one topic right now. I feel like no matter what I open up with this hour, I'm going to have somebody saying, really? You're going to open up with the Bengals offensive line when the Browns just released Jarvis Landry and they added, and they add, of course, Amari Cooper over the weekend. Really? You're going to open up with Wright State after UD got robbed in the NCAA tournament? Really? You're going to open up with Dayton Flyers in the NIT when Wright State's in the NCAA tournament? Really? You're going to open up with the Browns and the Wright State Raiders, the Dayton Flyers, the Bengals when the Cincinnati Reds are trading away one of their top starting pitchers? Really? Let's dive into it, shall we? How about this, Kev? Let's open up. The Cleveland Browns have released five-time Pro Bowler Jarvis Landry. The Cleveland Browns released him earlier on this afternoon. It was just announced the two sides attempted to restructure his contract to keep him in Cleveland, a league source told ESPN's Adam Schefter, but ultimately could not work out a deal. Landry is now a free agent to sign with any team. Now, there was talks out there that Jarvis Landry wanted to be paid and paid fairly at market price. And then whenever the Browns showed that they were serious and went out and got Amari Cooper, that's when he said he was willing to restructure the deal. They efforted to restructure the deal. I'm not sure how hard they tried to restructure the deal, but they could not get a deal done. Amari Cooper is now the number one wide receiver in Cleveland. They don't have a number two at the moment. Technically, on paper, it could be Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe Schwartz, maybe Higgins. Who knows what's all going on right now? A lot of question marks as far as the direction of the Cleveland Browns offense, but it kind of pains me. It makes sense why they're moving on from Jarvis Landry, but at the same time, it's tough to let a locker room leader go. You move on from an OBJ, you could move on from some talented pieces, but if they're not leaders in the locker room, it makes it easier to do. Jarvis is more than just a wide receiver. He was a presence in that locker room. And I think we saw last year just how much more of that presence from others that they needed. I think this is kind of a big deal, but it just depends how they counter moving forward.
The thing about this Jarvis Landry situation is the remaining question is, are the Browns officially now going defensive line with the 13th pick, or would it still be projected to take a wide receiver? Because obviously you have Amari Cooper, a number one receiver in this league for a long time. Now you have him. Are you going to go with him and Donovan Peoples-Jones and Schwartz in the slot? Or are you going to still go out there and make the splash and get Olave or Garrett Wilson or the kid from USC? Are you still going that route? Or are you going defensive tackle or defensive line to help out on the defensive pass rush? What are the Browns going to do in the draft? The whole situation with Jarvis, he wanted to get paid fair market value or continue to get paid what he's getting paid with the Browns. Now he's a free agent. The question for him is, where does he end up? Does he go to Kansas City? Does he go to Baltimore? Does he go out to Seattle? Does he go to the Raiders? There's a lot of places he could land that need a quality slot receiver like him. So there's a lot of questions out there, especially for Jarvis Landry, because the Browns, obviously, they're moving on.
I think what this tells me that this is all about Deshaun Watson, because in my mind, you only had to give up 2 5s to be able to acquire Amari Cooper. I know you took on a lot with his 20 mil, but you restructure that deal with Jarvis Landry if you know your quarterback's Baker Mayfield. If your quarterback's Baker Mayfield, you have Amari Cooper, you have Jarvis Landry. Now you have Donovan Peoples-Jones as your 3 in the slot, or Higgins or Schwartz, what have you. Now you have a nice little core of pass catchers. Now you can use that number 13 pick to get a pass rusher, and that makes sense. But to me, this Jarvis deal, the only reason that it happened the way it did, it's just a salary dump because the Browns are trying to reposition themselves or position themselves to potentially make a move to acquire Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans. Texans. Now, I thought at first, I'm like, okay, they're just kind of kicking tires on it, but I think that this was a roster move to target him. I really do. I think that that's the direction that the Browns are trying to go in, and we can get into the ethics side of this later on. I'm not overlooking that. I've been frustrated from the beginning that we talk about Deshaun Watson as if just nothing's going on. That is just not it's horrible, the situation he's in, and it has nothing to do with football. But football is the centerpiece of this conversation right now. Somebody, Mark Neal would always say, I remember him saying this about, if somebody's going to sign him, somebody's going to trade for him. And if somebody, this is like going back to the Michael Vick days, you could sit there and be morally appalled by the man and not sign him, but someone's going to sign him and someone's going to beat you with him. And at the end of the day, whether it's right or wrong, coaches will lose jobs, GMs will lose jobs, owners will move on from personnel over decisions like this. Andrew Berry has a tough decision to make, but we'll see where it ends up happening from there. That's going to be the big question. We'll stick in the AFC North, Kev. How about quarterback Mitchell Trubisky signing with a 2-year deal, or at least has said he's going to sign a 2-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Free agent quarterback Mitchell Trubisky plans to sign a 2-year deal with the Steelers, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. Trubisky said his decision came down to the Steelers and the Giants. The Giants already have Daniel Jones, of course. The Steelers don't really have a true starter, although Mason Rudolph was kind of the guy that had appeared to be the guy to slide a position in that role. I know that the Steelers had acquired Dwayne Haskins last year. Obviously, they haven't really been able to find a way to pan out for that to pan out. But very interesting now. So you bring him in. He picks the Steelers over the Giants. I think he looks at the Steelers as a more realistic shot at getting the starting gig and keeping it and retaining it. But you've been calling this for a while. You like this move. I don't like it, but if my team was in your situation, I would like this move based on the options that are out there. Obviously, you would like to, go maybe kick the tires on Deshaun Watson, but the Steelers aren't really known to be an organization that is going to unload assets that it would take to go acquire him. So I think that this makes a lot of sense. Even if he is a bridge quarterback, Mason Rudolph is a legitimate backup quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky is a starting quarterback, maybe not a great one, but a solid enough piece to come in. Maybe if you could win 8 games with Mason Rudolph, you could probably win 9, maybe 10. As crazy as that sounds with Mitchell Trubisky with that Steelers defense intact. We'll see what goes on with this. I do think he's a bridge quarterback, but man, I also think they're in a dangerous spot because if you win 9 to 10 games with Trubisky, you're always going to be good. And is it too good to the point where you don't want to move on from him? Like you're kind of hovering in that middle ground. And I think that's what the Browns are trying to avoid right now with the Deshaun Watson thing. Is Baker good enough to win you games? Absolutely. Has he done it before? Absolutely. But did you watch Joe Burrow? Did you watch Patrick Mahomes? Did you watch these cats and say, oh, yeah, we're bringing a spoon to a knife fight? You're bringing a Baker Mayfield to a Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow fight. And I think the Browns see that. I think the Steelers are going to see that eventually, too. Sure, you could win games at Mitchell Trubisky, but can you win the games at Mitchell Trubisky? But you seem pretty happy with this move.
Yeah, I was happy with the move, and I was predicting the move prior to the Deshaun Watson situation. Once the news broke on Friday about Deshaun Watson not facing any criminal charges, obviously still facing the civil charges and everything like that, but the criminal charges dropped, my focus shift to Deshaun Watson. Like, look, man, you got to go after him. Like, he's that good of a quarterback. Like, hey, man, if there's no criminal charges, yeah, he'll still probably get suspended for like 4 to 6 games, but you could still survive that, and you got a franchise quarterback without a doubt. Removing Deshaun Watson from it, I had Mitch Trubisky as my number 1 target for the quarterback position for the Pittsburgh Steelers, considering all the things that still need to be fixed on that defense, mainly another inside linebacker, another starting caliber cornerback, and obviously everything wrong with the offensive line. Like, you had so many problems to fix. You dumping so many first-round picks for, is Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. The reason I wouldn't have did it for those guys is because those guys, especially in an Aaron Rodgers situation, he's quote unquote long in the tooth. How much longer does he have left to play? Russell Wilson, that contract is hefty and everything like that. But then on the Deshaun Watson situation, hey, man, this dude is like 25 years old. He's going to be in this league for a long time. And you get him on your team, you're going to win a lot of football games. So I would deem it worth it to do that. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't. They signed Mitchell Trubisky. They're going to battle it out in camp. And I think Trubisky's going to ultimately win that job. And I hope that the Pittsburgh Steelers realize what he does well and play a lot of zone read type of concepts. He's a very athletic quarterback. Keep him on the move. Don't have him a stationary target out there like they try to do with him in Chicago. Like, do what he does well. Roll the pocket. Let him play with his legs. Let him move around a little bit. Don't put him back there like he Dan Marino, because he ain't Dan Marino. Move him around. Let him do what he can do very well. So I like it, removing the fact that Deshaun Watson's out there, because I do agree with you. I think Deshaun Watson is going to either end up with the Cleveland Browns, or I think he's going to end up with the Panthers. Those are the two destinations I think he's ultimately going to end up, because I think that the Carolina Panthers are going to be willing to dump any and everything for him. They're probably going to let go some of their defensive talent, you know what I'm saying, to get him. Like Brian Burns, one of the best defensive ends in the league. I think they're going to be willing to dump everything for him. That I really can't get behind, everything. But the Browns are going to give him a run for their money. But I think ultimately he ends up with the Panthers.
Yeah, my only thing about, and I've been saying this about the Browns since back when the rumors of Aaron Rodgers were kind of floating around, the team that has the best package to offer is the Cleveland Browns, because they have draft capital and they're the only team that could position themselves in a deal to include a starting quarterback that can win you ball games. Baker Mayfield's good enough to go to Houston and win you some ball games. Is he good enough to be the franchise quarterback? No, but I think he's the perfect guy that you could send with the draft picks, of course, with some additional talent, skill pieces around him, and get a deal done. But Deshaun Watson's no trade clause, of course, will play a role in this, and that's what fascinates me with everything going on with Deshaun Watson. He still has all the leverage because he has that no trade clause. If I'm Houston, I'm just so frustrated. I hate the no trade clauses, and this is even, for guys on our team, I hate the no trade clause. I hate it with the passion. I get it; it's good for the player because they control it. And maybe if we worked in an industry that we could be traded at any moment, and we would love to have that peace of mind knowing that we can control where we're traded to. Of course, I get it, but as a fan, I hate it because I think Cleveland makes the most sense. But obviously, Deshaun would. I think obviously you need to go play in Carolina. That makes some sense too.
From Atlanta, Carolina's not too far from his hometown. A lot of connections there.
All right. If you are just tuning in, we welcome you in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. If you are looking to buy or sell your home, make sure, of course, you use Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. He's the sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. And there you see him right there. 518-1410. 518-1410. That's the number to call into the show. But if you want to call Brad Mays, if you're looking to buy or sell your home, 937-572-7425. That's the number you give Brad Mays a call with if you're looking to buy or sell your home as we head into the warmer months. Finally, freezing freaking cold over the weekend, man. It feels great out today. It's hot as hell in this building, though. I'll tell you that much. All right, let's keep it going. We'll stay in the AFC North. I didn't mean to have an AFC North, but it was a busy day in the AFC North. The Cincinnati Bengals, and this is what drives me nuts. People on social media. Matt Muncy tweeted today, Justin Kinner, I think his Twitter was hacked because I had tweeted out earlier, good for Mike Brown and the Bengals finally going out and getting proven tanks to put up front to protect Joe Burrow. And then I said, I wish Mike Brown would buy the Reds at this point with the way things are going. But the Bengals have been busy today. They get Alex Kappa. If I mispronounce these guys, that's fine. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers free agent guard Alex Kappa intends to sign a 4-year, $40 million deal with the Cincinnati Bengals after free agency opens on Wednesday. Again, not done there because the Bengals have also agreed to a 3-year, $18 million deal with the New England Patriots for their center/guard in Ted Karras. Again, if I mispronounce his name, my apologies. This was just slid across my desk about a half hour before the show started. But the thing is, this is huge. And by the way, Mark Smith coming in with the hashtag Kinner was wrong. Hashtag how was Kinner wrong? Kinner's been saying this whole time, don't use draft picks to fix the offensive line. Go out, get proven tanks. How is Kinner wrong? If anything, you guys are morons who have been defending an organization who waited this damn long to go get an offensive line, and you're going to have to use this hashtag Kinner was wrong garbage with me. Don't do it. I've been saying nice things about your team, but don't be dumb. You guys are the fan base that sat there and supported your organization despite putting your quarterback in harm's way. Miss 70 sacks. Oh, Kinner was wrong. Kinner was not wrong. Kinner's been preaching for 2 damn years to go get the offensive line. Had you done this a year and a half ago, Kinner would have shut up a long time ago. Hashtag Kinner was wrong. Hashtag kiss my you-know-what. That's what I have to to say. But two big moves right here, and I like it. They may not be done. The bottom line is I've always felt that everyone out there, when the first mock draft came out, and Mel Kiper had the Bengals going defense, everyone was like, are you kidding? They're not going to – why would they not address the offensive line? You're heading into year 3 with Joe Burrow. These star quarterbacks in the NFL are starting to demand the negotiation process to start after year 3. You can't risk heading into year 3 repeating a 70-sack performance like last year. Even if it's a 60-sack performance, you improve by 10 sacks, okay? You can't have that. This was the right decision to go after proven guys, proven veterans to protect your number one asset, which is Joe Burrow. And I mean, it's okay. When I say that they are horrible at developing offensive linemen, that's not an insult. That's just a fact. And you guys need to get the hell over it. And I think that this is them waving the white flag. They're admitting, yeah, we kind of suck at this whole drafting guys and developing them thing. That's fine. The Patriots can't draft wide receivers to save their life. All right. And we point out that it's a weakness, but that fan base doesn't get their feelings hurt because they're not soft like you guys or some of you guys. They acknowledge it. So good for the Patriots for saying, we're going to go we'll get free agent pass catchers if we have to. That's what they do. So that's what the Bengals should have been doing all along. Mike Brown has always been adamantly against paying offensive linemen. You could tell that either someone else has taken the complete control of the decision making, or someone convinced him over a nice game of bingo and coffee at 7 o'clock before bedtime to, hey, maybe we should get that old offensive line beefed up. But this is a good thing. You guys know that. I know that. I think we could all agree on that. It doesn't always have to turn into a screaming match between me and some bozo Bengals fan who pretends to know football when you absolutely don't, because I've been telling you for years that the offensive line was the issue. And, of course, nope, I'm wrong. I was 70 sacks last year, and it was ironic that that's what cost you the Super Bowl. The Bengals get back to the Super Bowl with this offensive line. That's all she wrote. That's all she wrote until Deshaun Watson ended up in Cleveland, and you all really screwed. I'm just saying. But no, it's okay. But no, I like the moves from the Bengals. Huge. This makes a ton of sense. Now the draft coming up, now it's just adding depth to certain positions and maybe trying to upgrade a few other key positions. I said last year, Joe Burrow took a team to the Super Bowl, and that might be the worst roster he plays on over the next 2 or 3 years. So already that's the case with the moves that the Bengals made today. The Bengals are in good shape. Skilled players galore, a proven beefed-up offensive line. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to be serviceable, and I think it's just above that now with these two additions. You have Jonah Williams, of course. I like what they did at center. So, again, getting guys from winning organizations, too. You get a guy from the Patriots. You get a guy from Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course. And, these guys that you already have on the roster, maybe not everyday guys you can count on, but for depth purposes, I think some guys can pan out. So I like this. Good for the Bengals. Good for you Bengals fans out there. It's setting up to be one fun AFC North because Mitchell Trubisky's not a bad quarterback. The Steelers are going to be interesting. The Browns are going to be healthier and back at the top again, battling for it at the top. Lamar will have his pass catchers. Hopefully the run game improve. The AFC North, everyone can focus over there in the West. Okay, you can pay attention to the Patrick Mahomes and the Russell Wilson and that division, but the AFC North will be just as entertaining. Good for the Bengals.
Bloodbath in the AFC North. Bloodbath this season. It's going to be absolutely bloodbath. As far as the Cincinnati Bengals, man, they're doing exactly what they should, man. They saw that they can make it to the Super Bowl, but can you win the Super Bowl? You were literally a split second away from winning the Super Bowl. If you're able to hold Aaron Donald for just one more second, you hit Jamar Chase, you win the Super Bowl potentially, just like that. But now you saw the error of your ways. You're getting some veteran offensive linemen now. That right tackle spot, do you re-sign Riley Reif to bring him back? He got hurt halfway through the season. Do you bring him back and say, well, let's run it back the way we got? And then with these other guys at the center and the guard spot, that's the question for them, because the right tackle situation is still up for grabs because Isaiah Prince, he's a Buckeye. We love him because he's a Buckeye, but turnstile.
Unreal. But good stuff from the Bengals, and they may not be done. Again, we knew that they were going to be very busy. The reason I know that the Browns, all of this repositioning, like the cutting Jarvis Landry, Kev, they are doing everything they can to get Deshaun Watson. Because they're not outside of the Amari Cooper move. The Amari Cooper move was set up again for Deshaun Watson. Yes, by the way, you had to get a pass catcher. You had to get a number one wide receiver. That was done for Baker or Deshaun, no matter who it is. Bottom line, though, is that Amari Cooper makes the Browns a little more interesting for a guy like Deshaun Watson coming in. If Deshaun Watson can come in with that offensive line, with Kareem Hunt and with Nick Chubb and with Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones and Njoku and these guys like Kev, that's a very interesting landing spot for Deshaun Watson. So the Browns front office, Andrew Berry, those guys doing a great job. making it interesting. But I do believe that the reason that they have, after Amari Cooper, it's been more about the guys that they've released. It's because they don't want to use that money on anything else right now because they want to exhaust every resource to get Deshaun Watson. But I think that you'll see the Browns be aggressive here in the coming days if they realize that they can't get Deshaun Watson. But can you imagine a division that would have Lamar Jackson, a Deshaun Watson, a Joe Burrow, and Mitchell Trubisky? But good job, buddy. You got Mitchell Trubisky.
All of them still got to watch out for my boy, TJ Watt. They all going to have to deal with TJ Watt one way or another.
The Bengals are like, we got an offensive line, baby. What? TJ what?
I don't think TJ Watt had a sack against the Bengals this season.
But yet he still had the single season sack record, right?
Yeah. The worst offensive line in the league, and he can't get a sack against them. If he would have got one sack, he would have held that record by himself. Get it together, TJ. In all seriousness, man, I do have a question for you. You're a Baker fan. You're the president of the Baker Mayfield fan club. They make the trade for Deshaun. Obviously, you're going to remain a Browns fan, but if Baker takes his talents down to Houston, are you going to be rooting for the Texans on the side?
I'm not rooting for the Texans. I'll be rooting for him. I'll put my NBA style fandom hat on, where it becomes about the player more than it does about the team. And look, if Baker goes to Houston and kind of gets a fresh, reset, new scenery, I think that's huge. It'd be big for Baker. But look, at the end of the day, I don't care about Baker in this particular case. All I want is the Cleveland Browns to make enough moves to contend. And by the way, I could disrespect the Bengals all I want, but the Browns would not be doing this if it wasn't for Joe Burrow. I promise you this much. I think the Browns respect Lamar Jackson, but I think the Browns also see what's happening with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, which is exactly why they've said, hey, if we have to face Lamar Jackson twice a year, that's fine. We can contain them with Baker Mayfield. What you can't do is you can't contain Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson with Baker Mayfield. And I think that that's what they're saying. And it's not just the two quarterbacks. It's what the organizations are putting around those other two. So because the Browns are sitting back and seeing what the Bengals and the Ravens and other teams in the AFC, like look what the Chargers did with going out and getting Khalil Mack over the weekend. I mean, let's not forget about that, okay? Like these AFC teams they're going all in. And the Browns are like, we can't sit back and just say, well, we'll be healthier next year. That's why we're going to be back. You can't just count on that. So I respect what Andrew Berry and company's doing. I like Baker Mayfield, but hey, it's not like they're moving on from Baker Mayfield to bring in a Mitch Trubisky. I would have a huge problem with that. You don't do that. You don't move on from Baker Mayfield to kick the tires on a Derek Carr. And I think Derek Carr is slightly better, not better enough to where I'm willing to say, oh yeah, let's jump to that ship real quick. And even Kirk Cousins. But for Deshaun Watson, that type of talent, absolutely in a heartbeat. But 518-1410, Kev, who we got?
We got Ron. He wants to talk about Amari Cooper to the Browns.
Ron, how are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Kev? Justin, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Can you explain to me how Dallas can just drop Cooper for the Browns for a 5th and 6th round pick?
It really wasn't about the return. It was just, honestly, it was more of just a salary dump. I have a hard time believing that they could not have got a better offer out there. I found that kind of odd. I do think that the $20 million, you shaking your head no. You think that was good or bad, Kev?
I think it was the best you could do, to be perfectly honest. I don't think Amari Cooper.
I guess with the wide receiver draft coming, there's too many options.
It's too many options. Like, these guys don't get traded like that. Like, when you have that hefty contract, like, once they're established who they are in the league, like a lot of people just think Amari Cooper's all right. He's a number one, but like, is he a number one? Like, is he a game wrecker like Antonio Brown when he was in his peak of his career, or Julio Jones is like, he is a game wrecker. Yeah, he's a number one, but like CeeDee Lamb was coming for that spot, and they chose to give Michael Gallup a big contract coming off a torn ACL. That's what the Cowboys decided to do that. And they also decided, I guess, they still going to keep Zeke on the team, where Zeke got paid before Amari Cooper, and they're going to keep him too. So like he was the odd man out, I guess.
Cowboys don't make any sense because while they're trying to revert back to the run, being that run dominant team, they're letting guys like Collins and other big guys, they're trying to move on from some key offensive linemen that, would help them in that situation. What about you, Ron? I mean, you're a Cowboys fan, I'm sure. So what do you seem upset with it? You seem kind of confused. You seem upset with it.
I'm upset that the move that they, you got a Cooper, but got nothing for him. I mean, you guys to me, they just gave him away.
Well, that's fine, but like to say that he just gave him away, what did you realistically expect to get back for him? What's his value in your eyes?
I think Cooper's worth a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
They traded. They traded.
I think he's worth something. He's worth something more than a 5th and 6th round pick.
Did they trade a 1st round pick to get him initially?
Yes, they did, but everyone said that was way too much. The Cowboys got ripped for giving up a first round to get him, and I defended it because I said, "Is he worth a first rounder?" I mean, just in a general conversation, no. But at the time, the Cowboys were desperate for a pass catcher; they were desperate for a playmaker. So that Jerry Jones was like, "Well, is he worth the one? Probably not." But because we desperately need one, they have the leverage, so we have to give up the number one to get him. I didn't expect the Cowboys to get that one back or even a two. I thought maybe a three, but hey, you know what? It doesn't matter because the Browns were able to give up 2 5s to get a talent like that, and that puts them in position to get a Deshaun Watson. So to me, yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Maybe not for your Cowboys, of course, but we'll see.
I think it's definitely worth it.
Cowboys. No, not.
I think it's definitely worth it for the Browns.
Thanks,
You get a big body receiver and everything like that. You experience like the smaller, faster twitch guys and everything like that with OBJ and everything like that. You get a bigger physical receiver to go out there with the Browns. I like that for them. And, bigger receivers causes a bigger catch radius and everything like that. I like it for the Browns. As far as 2 5s, I mean, it is what it is because they got something instead of nothing because they were going to ultimately end up cutting them just to get rid of that salary. So they got something. It's all about turning those picks into something.
All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown will be joining us coming up top of the 4 o'clock hour. Wright State will be playing in the first 4 Wednesday against the other 16th seed Bryant. At 6:40, the tip-off from UD Arena. We talked about it last week. Like, there's a chance. But I was like, there's no way, right? Like, I felt deep down, I'm like, I'm getting a little too excited for something that may not happen. But it happened. It actually happened. Wright State's in the first 4. They're at UD Arena. They'll be taking on Bryant, and they're a favorite. The Wright State Raiders this is our 4th NCAA tournament appearance, and they're the favorites in this by 3.5. It was 2 this morning when I just checked it, and the line had moved 1.5 points. That's kind of a decent swing from a 2 point. 3.5 is still going to be a close game, but nonetheless. So Jim Brown will join us. I can't wait to catch up with him again. One half of the voice of the Raiders. We'll chat with him at 4 o'clock. All right, getting a lot of good questions coming in regarding the NFL side of things. We'll continue with this on the other side. We'll dive into March Madness. I want to dive into the Cincinnati Reds a little bit too, as the Cincinnati Reds have kind of shown that, hey, they're throwing in are they starting another rebuild? Did what the Reds did over the weekend or lack thereof, did the Reds just signal to the fans that, well, hey, why don't you guys enjoy what the Bengals are doing while we just hide over here in the corner and maybe do the opposite? The Reds are everything opposite of the Cincinnati Bengals right now. That's a problem. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I've always said that even in the Reds' worst years, they were still a better organization than the Bengals. And right now, that's not what's going on. I'm frustrated. 518-1410. We'll be back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
That's the sound of a crack in the ceiling found at a home inspection. But with a Realtor by your side, a newfound leak might only cause minor worries. With their expertise, a Realtor can suggest a credit at closing and even connect you to a contractor to help you shore up that leak and alleviate your worries. When it comes to cracks in your plans, the expertise of a Realtor can make all the difference. The difference between an agent and a Realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
How do you make the most of your land? Shaw does it behind the wheel of a John Deere 1025R compact tractor.
Shaw stands for skilled hands at work.
And he lives up to the name as he uses his versatile tractor to make
the earth take the shape that I wanted to take.
And the Allens fire up their John Deere 3032E compact tractor to grow about 9 acres of flowers. Because the beauty of having land is deciding how to make it yours. There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
I had a nighttime routine for my frequent heartburn. I would drink milk, I would sleep upright with more pillows, but that painful burning stayed. So I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine. With just 1 pill in the morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn day and night. Now I have a new nighttime routine. I call it sleeping.
Block heartburn all day and all night with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you can do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? DINOVITE.com. Dynovite is nutrition. The Dynovite will make your dog happy, vivacious, jump up and down, wag their tails. It will make you smile.
You get some Dynovite, how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynovite from DINOVITE.com.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers. If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0.9% financing on the 22 Honda Pilot, Honda Passport, and Honda HRV, and as low as 1.9% financing on all other 22 Hondas while supplies last. We can get the Honda you're looking for. We are taking deposits on current scheduled in-build 22 Hondas every day. See me, Sales Manager Jason High, for all the details. We're located Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only two places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. 518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown will join us coming up here in 20 minutes, top of the 4 o'clock hour. Wright State back in the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018. They won the Horizon League Conference Championship last week. And, of course, we found out where they'd be seeded. They're a 16 seed. They are in the first 4. They're taking on Bryant, and that'll be Wednesday at 6:40. The tip-off. The winner will head to San Diego, where they'll take on Arizona. So there's that. I mean, that's but, again, that's the nature of this. Like, people out there who are saying, well, it's disrespectful that they have to play in the first 4. I don't buy that. I just don't. And maybe I am wrong, and maybe if I got an honest answer from one of the players or coaches, they would say, yeah, we think it's kind of stupid too. I don't know. I don't envision that. For one, there's a lot of business reasons why this is good, right? For the athletics department in general, just making the NCAA tournament one way or another. This is a good thing. Yeah. A chance to actually win an NCAA tournament game. That's good for the program and the conference on top of that. Okay, there's a lot of like those types of things you as fans don't have to care about, but trust me, there's a lot of things from a business perspective why this is a good thing and a great opportunity for Wright State to have a chance as 3.5-point favorites to pick up their first tournament win in program history. So there's that aspect of it as well. I just don't understand. So many people keep saying this is not the NCAA tournament. It is the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
It's the NCAA tournament. Wright State punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament. This is not a separate tournament. All right, I keep seeing people say conference champions should not have to play their way into the field. Well, they're in the field. It's a 68-team field. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why people have to continue to find a way just to be negative. They don't deserve to play at UD Arena. I keep seeing a lot of that on Twitter. I'm not going to really get into it too much. Like there was a lot of, not all UD fans. I'm not going to put all of you in that category, but man, it was just so annoying over the weekend getting the tweets and the responses on Facebook that I did from some. There's just a few of them, but there's just enough of them that I'm like, you guys are just morons. Like I don't even understand it. It's one thing to be passionate about your team, but to literally your team. I mean. They're only in it because they play in a weak conference. You can't say that when the only reason your team's not in the tournament is because you couldn't beat weak opponents. You can't sit there and poke fun at the weak conference that Wright State plays in. Your team, the whole reason that they're in the NIT playing at Toledo, by the way, is because they couldn't beat the teams Austin P, and they couldn't beat UMass Lowell, and they couldn't beat those teams, Lipscomb. They couldn't beat LaSalle just a few weeks ago. They couldn't even win their own conference tournament. And you're going to make fun of the one team that did their job of winning their conference tournament, winning 20 games, getting into, I mean, come on. It is what it is. Bottom line is, I was asked today, I went on ABC, I went on Dayton 24/7 now earlier today. Nathan Edwards, shout out to Nathan Edwards for having me on. And he asked me about Dayton. He said, they didn't make the tournament. They were that first team out.
Mm-hmm.
Was this were they a disappointment? Did they have a disappointing season? Did they was there a letdown? And I said, honestly, to be fair, no. I don't think that they underperformed. I think that they overperformed. I think that nobody expected that. I said last year in the offseason, last year by UD not making the NCAA tournament with Jalen Crutcher and company, I said that's kind of a problem for Anthony Grant because honestly, that team should have been in the NCAA tournament. That team was good, or at least they were talented, but they weren't a good basketball team. I mean, they just never really clicked. They would have a couple big wins and then have some bad losses, but that's kind of the pattern of Anthony Grant teams, to be fair. But this team was so dang young. It was the most talented recruiting class in program history, of course, but all freshmen or all second-year players. There wasn't really a lot of veteran presence. There wasn't a lot of senior leadership and pretty much at all. So I get all that. That is why I can't say that the season was a disappointment. I think you feel disappointed that the Flyers are not in the NCAA tournament, but I don't think that their season was a disappointment. If anything, I think that they were better than they were better than what they were supposed to be. They were the number 2 seed in the A-10 tournament. They were the second best team in the A-10 and probably could have been the best team in the A-10 if they just get one. They don't lose to LaSalle. They don't lose by 1 to VCU. They, just a couple things go differently. They're the number 1 seed in the A-10 tournament. So, no, I don't think that they had I don't think that they they weren't a disappointment. They were ahead of where they were supposed to be. So to be fair, people think I just like to pile on the Flyers. No, I do not. I'm very realistic about them as a program. I just don't drink the Kool-Aid like most. So with that being said, no, they were not a disappointment. They were actually they're ahead of schedule. Those freshmen developed under Anthony Grant. A lot of the bad losses came at the beginning of the year during the progression period that you're going to always have. I mean, sometimes the non-conference you can build the non-conference is to help build your NCAA tournament resume, but it could also kill it, of course. Those bye games become crucial. But we did see that those games didn't technically work against them completely because they were in as of yesterday. They were in until Richmond won. Rich won yesterday, and that's what led to the Dayton Flyers being out. And I keep seeing people, and I think it's worse, actually. I think if they would have said, Dayton had no chance, they weren't even on the radar yesterday, I think Flyer fans could have stomached that. But I think because they see that they were the first team out, they're a replacement team, by the way. If any team throughout the first 4, and by the way, if the luck, I'm not even going to go there. You know what I'm about to say. I'm not even going to go there. They're a replacement team. If someone catches COVID and if there's an outbreak on a team and they can't participate, the Flyers will be called in. So there's that. But no, not a disappointment at all. They're in the NIT. They'll be playing at Toledo on Wednesday, and we know how much Neil Sullivan and company loves to take their team on the road at mid-major teams in the state of Ohio. They're all for it. They're always begging Wright State, please let us come to the Nutter Center. Please let us come. And you know, those guys at Wright State, they're like, oh no, we're not going to do you any favors, you know. But I love the NIT because it does force some of these interesting matchups, you know, having to play on the road or have good teams come in. The NIT field's pretty cool as well. Oklahoma's in there, SMU. It's a pretty good field.
So hold on. They're a 1 seed in the NIT, but they can't play at home because of the first 4, right?
That's right. I mean, they're the 1 seed. Toledo would have had to come to UD Arena to play if there was no first 4.
That's a triple whammy.
So they play Wednesday night. They tip off at 7, I believe, at Savage Hall. I don't even know if it's still Savage Hall. When I was in high school, we would play our regional games there, and it was called Savage Hall. I don't know if it's still that or not. But, yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of salt being rubbed in the wound right there. I get that.
Yeah.
Not for everybody. I give a lot of Flyer fans credit because I have a habit of saying, Flyer fans are piling on rights. That's not true. There's just an annoying select few that don't know how to act like adults, you know. So I'm not going to put everyone in that category, but there's enough to just try to ruin it for everybody else. So I do like to highlight them because I want people to find them and highlight them and put them in their place as far as I'm concerned. But no, I mean, it is kind of a strange scenario.
It is.
Dayton's the first team out. Now they have to play in the NIT. They look down on the NIT. They think they're above the NIT, even though they haven't been in the NCAA tournament since Archie Miller was here. They look down at the NIT. So they're in the NIT. Then they have to go on the road to play because the first 4. But that's not the only reason. It's because Wright State is playing on their... Wright State is basically hogging their floor that night. Wright State is making them go play at Toledo. That's basically what's happening. That's how it's being viewed. It's a tough pill to swallow for Flyer fans, and I understand it. And you may think, you're just sitting there rubbing it in. Maybe. I have to deal with you guys rubbing it in every year. But at the same time, I'm not making this up. I'm not making these things up. The optics, you mean to tell me that the optics don't make you cringe just a bit, Flyer fans? That not only that you have to go play little old Mac Toledo. You're A10 power. You're Dayton Flyers, baby. Yeah, look at your NBA arena. You have to go play on the road at Toledo. Ugh. Because Wright State is hogging your floor that night.
Reminds me of when Kentucky had to play in the NIT and they had first round games at Rupp Arena. They went to what? Robert Morris.
I think it was Robert Morris.
I'm almost positive it was Robert Morris, and they end up losing to Robert Morris and everything like that. I watched the game. I watched the game that UD lost to Richmond. And once Malachi Smith went out, the starting point guard for them, they're up 12. They are cruising. Offense is flowing. Defense is doing what they do. They are cruising. They are headed to the A-10 final. And on Friday, I said if UD makes the A-10 final, they are going to make the tournament. Ultimately, the 12-point lead is evaporated because they can't get any offense going at all once Malachi Smith went out with the injury. And I thought, like, oh, man, he'll be back. He'll be back. And I'll look at the clock. It's 3 minutes left. I'm like, he ain't coming back. They're about to lose this game because they can't score. They can't run any offensive sets. It's just dribble, bad shot. So ultimately, they lose that game. And then Richmond obviously wins the A-10. And then ultimately, we hear them say UD was the very first team out. So if Davidson would have took care of business and won the A-10, UD would have been in the tournament, even though they lost to Richmond. So Richmond not only beat them and then won the A-10, they knocked them out. And now they're the first 4 out. Now they're headed to the NIT up there at Toledo. We all wanted this to happen. We wanted UD and Wright State to be in the tournament for the very first time together. It would have been awesome for the city. Imagine the scene. Thursday night, the bars are popping all across town, man. UD's playing in wherever on a Thursday. Wright State's playing in the first 4 on a Wednesday. You imagine those back-to-back party days, and you imagine the revenue that these bars are going to bring into town. But now, UD is in the NIT at 7 o'clock in Toledo.
Holy Toledo. Holy Toledo. And what's funny is I've never had friends text me, man, can you get me Wright State tickets? Can you get me Wright State tickets? So the fact that Wright State is the hottest basketball ticket in town, baby. They are the hottest basketball ticket in town. I mean, we're talking like $150 for. Woo! It's the hottest ticket in town. In fairness, if I'm Wright State, I decline the first 4 offers. if I'm Bob Grant and company, Scott Nagy, Bob Grant, they need to get on the phone and say, you know what, we respectfully decline the first 4 offer because we are adamantly against putting fans in UD Arena's seats.
Did you see?
You heard that before, right? I think I've heard that excuse somewhere.
Did you see Bob Grant's hoodie
with the rings?
Yes.
Yeah.
I need parts. I need that in my life.
Yeah, his
plug.
I can't pull off half the stuff he wears, man. And like the thing is, he pulls it off. And I want that damn hoodie with the rings on there too.
Fashion
By the
is
way, keep in
confidence,
mind,
baby.
like the last 5 years, 5 championships, 3 regular season titles, 2 tournament titles, 2 NCAA appearances, 3 NIT, appearances. Obviously, that 20 year. I don't know how to count that. And I mean, they were an NIT team,
right?
That year, UD would have been a number 3. They were the number 3 team in the country. They would have been a 1 seed. That year is still just, that was just terrible memory as far as that's concerned. But yes, Bryant and Wright State. Wright State a 3.5-point favorite. Notre Dame and Rutgers will be the second game at 9:10 at UD Arena.
How about that? Ron Harper Jr., obviously Ron Harper Sr. from Dayton,
He's
Ohio.
actually going to be in town tomorrow and Wednesday.
Nice.
Chatted with him earlier. And his son's going to be in action on Wednesday night, too. So I'm pretty excited about that. So, yeah, very cool, though, man. Like this is my favorite time of year. But, yes, like you said, yes, I'm having fun with the little Wright State back and forth with UD. But, yes, the dream scenario would have been Wright State, UD, both in the first 4, because had UD made it, they most likely, I believe they would have been in the first 4 is basically what they had said, right? I mean, so to have both local teams at that arena, and that would have been the second first 4 appearance for UD, of course. But this is huge. This is big for Wright State for so many reasons, because this is a tournament game that you actually have a shot to win. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. Like, I know if Coach Nagy, if I was talking to him, I would never word it to him like that, because he would probably just strangle me if I said, well, Coach, you guys don't have a shot to get the 1 seed.
When Coach does this, when the coach crosses his arms and looks at his player with the side neck bad, I'll be feeling bad for the players, dude.
I mean, but the thing is, like, everyone knows where I'm coming from when I say, like, hey, that 16 versus 1, like, only one's done it. Only 1 16 seed has done it. Who's to say that they can't? But, like, come on. Even was it the UMBC that did it?
Yeah, over Virginia.
Show me a UMBC rider, fan, anybody that said, oh, yeah, they're going to pull off the upset. Nobody. And if you did, you would just blow and smoke because, hey, you know what? I'm just going to throw out a hot take. And if I get it right, everyone's going to be like, holy crap, he called it. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe the day of, if they beat Bryant and get, take on Arizona, I might be the hot take. And I say, I'm calling the second 16 versus 1 upset in NCAA tournament history. I might do it. I haven't decided yet. But the point is, that doesn't happen often. So this is a legitimate shot to play in a tournament game and to have an opponent that you're not guaranteed to win against, but a more like opponent, if you will. And that's what's going to be cool. And this is a big deal for the program. Again, to play at UD Arena, to play in front of that many fans, not just the fans in attendance, but the fans at home. I mean, this is the tip off to the tournament, man. Like, so many eyes will be on this first 4, so much exposure. And this is even better. I actually like this first 4 opportunity for Wright State more than just a first round matchup because of this. Think about the 16 versus 1. If Wright State wins, they'll play on Friday. I think I don't know the time that they would play throughout that day, but how many games are going on throughout that day? How many eyes are going to be on a 16 versus 1? Not many. You might turn it on. You might watch a few minutes of it. You're going to turn it off because there's so many other games going on. Guess what's not going on during the first 4? All the other games. It is, unless you're watching NIT basketball, of course, which you can do at 7 o'clock as the Dayton Flyers will be at Toledo. Just on ESPN Plus, by the way. What? It's the truth. If people don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Beat Lipscomb. So bottom line is, at this point, like, all eyes are going to be on them. Now, that could be a bad thing. You have a bad performance. You imagine if they just come out cold, can't hit a shot, get blown out. That's all you're going to hear. But, man, on the flip side, Grant Basile balls out.
Yeah.
Tanner Holden, who averages 20-plus a game, he does what he's supposed to. We've seen, Finke can catch fire from behind the three-point line. And I'm just saying, like, this program, they deserve this moment because all eyes are going to be on them. For anyone out there poo-pooing on the first 4, this is the best thing that could have happened to Wright State. All eyes will be on that matchup. All eyes will be on that matchup because no other games are going on. So I'm pretty jacked about that.
Going up against Peter Chris, the nation's #1 scorer with over 25 points a game. So, they're going to have their hands full.
It's going to be 25. They have another kid that averages 18.
Yeah.
So it's a 1 1-2 punch, but, we'll see.
Wright State, like you talked about, man, we got 3 dudes that can get you 20 to 25 points a game. So we're right there with them. We're good. We're golden.
All right, good stuff. We'll dive into some Reds baseball coming up in hour 2, as well as diving in back to some more NFL stuff. Again, the Browns, the rumors for Deshaun Watson continued to heat up. Will they pull the trigger on that? We'll dive more into that later on in the show. Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown, one half of the voice of the Raiders, of course. Chris Collins, Jim Brown do a fantastic job bringing you the action on radio, of course, and on the ESPN Plus feed all season long. Jim Brown joins us next right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
CSX, a growing Fortune 500 logistics company, has immediate openings for freight train conductors. If you're looking for a rewarding career offering paid training at nearly $25 per hour, competitive benefits, and you share a passion for great service, apply today at csx.com/careers. That's csx.com/careers. CSX, committed to supporting military and veteran families and their communities. CSX is an equal opportunity employer.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Wait, aren't these all charitable donations?
At Magda's Tax Prep, every person counts.
Do not have to file for an extension.
She needs new auditors to maximize returns on her family time.
On itemized deductions. Hey, can someone help with these 1099s?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Would you like to work at a fun casual joint? Here at Roosters, we really are a family. And at Roosters, our team members have the chance to grow their career and have fun while they do it. We're excited to announce the opening of a new Roosters in Beaver Creek. If you're energetic, friendly, with a positive attitude, Roosters is the perfect career path for you. Apply online at roosterswings.com or stop by the Beaver Creek Roosters this Thursday or Saturday between noon and 6. Roosters, a fun, casual place to work.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with the newest seasonal beers and refreshments. That means Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your needs, including for the big basketball tournament and St. Patrick's Day parties. At Rob's, you can find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need. Craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wines, snacks, and ice. Plus, Rob's has new apparel. Call, walk in, or drive through for last-minute items. Stock up today. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darst, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn, just look for the Beaver.
O'Reilly. Improve visibility and save money at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Replace your old wiper blades with a new pair of Rain-X Advantage wiper blades and save $10 now at O'Reilly. Our professional parts people will even install them for free. See better and drive safer with new wiper blades from O'Reilly Auto Parts in store or online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless. Now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Fed up with companies selling your data? DuckDuckGo is on it. They help millions of people like you take back their privacy online. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process, except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
How do you make the most of your land? Shaw does it behind the wheel of the John Deere 1025R compact tractor.
Shaw stands for skilled hands at work.
And he lives up to the name as he uses his versatile tractor to make
the earth take the shape that I wanted to take.
And the Allens fire up their John Deere 3032E compact tractor to
grow about 9 acres of flowers.
Because the beauty of having land is deciding how to make it yours. There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The Wright State Raiders, they will be in action coming up on Wednesday. NCAA tournament action on top of all that. Again, we finally got to see exactly where the Raiders would be placed yesterday. Selection Sunday, Wright State taking on Bryant, and the NCAA tournament first 4 Wednesday night at UD Arena, 6:40 the tip. And joining us now here live in studio, Wright State Hall of Famer, we have Jim Brown, one half of the voice of the Raiders. Jim Brown hanging out with us. Coach, welcome in. How are you?
I'm great. Good to be with you guys.
It's been a while. We haven't had you in a while. Obviously, obviously with the COVID, we haven't had many guests for a while. In fact, did a TV hit today over at Dayton 24/7 now, and they said, actually, you're one of our first studio guests in quite some time. I'm like, well, it's an honor. So it's an honor to have you in here today.
Well, thank you.
So this is a different, fourth NCAA tournament appearance for Wright State, and you've been around this program pretty much from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know how special of an achievement that this is for a program that just continues to grow and has continued to take that next step forward since Coach Nagy arrived on campus just about, 5-6 years ago?
6 years ago, yeah.
It's always been an up-and-coming program, but it just seems that Coach Nagy was that perfect storm. It was a perfect fit for both. And, man, he's brought out the best in the program and brought out the best in him as well.
Yeah. He has a great coaching staff too, Kevin. I mean, I know he lost a couple guys this year. Brian Cooley went to Colorado State, and Sharif Chambliss went to Wisconsin. Those two guys were great coaches, complimented him very well. But he was so fortunate in the hires that he made. Dan Beret came from Jacksonville, and Travis Trice from Wayne High School, who I knew. I coached against Travis several times when I was at Northmont. But it's a great staff, and you're right. He's done a phenomenal job. I was telling my wife yesterday, the basketball program has been in existence for 50 years. We've been to the NCAA tournament 4 times, won the national championship in '83. And there are so many teams in Ohio that haven't even gone to the NCAA tournament. I mean, Bowling Green hasn't been there since the mid-'60s. I read where Toledo, who Dayton's playing, hasn't been there in years and years and years. I mean, it's a tremendous accomplishment to have gone there 4 times in just a short period of time. It's so difficult to win a conference tournament. I mean, I tell people, if these other leagues were conference tournaments, Baylor wouldn't be going to the NCAA, Duke wouldn't be going, North Carolina wouldn't be going, Ohio State wouldn't be going. It's tough. It's really tough to win a tournament.
Yeah, before we get to yesterday's selection Sunday, of course, the conference tournament on top of that, right? So I think the half game out from winning the conference.
Yes.
And only one game separated the number 6 team in the conference from the conference winner, which was Cleveland State and Fort Wayne, of course. So it was driving me crazy. I was listening to you and Chris on the call for the majority of it, and then catching some of it on the TV side, of course. But Mark Adams and company, but they say, "Oh man, Wright State upset Cleveland State in the semifinals." I'm like, they were a half game out for winning the regular season title outright. I wouldn't classify it as an upset, but a 4-1. I mean, you had to beat Oakland, you had to beat Cleveland State and Northern Kentucky. They were 2-4 against the field going into this, and they came out victorious, of course. But you're right, that conference tournament, it's so dang hard, and they were so close to losing that. I mean, this could be NKU's game coming up on Wednesday.
I mean, to come from 14 behind 2 times within a week, once at home with Oakland, and that was a phenomenal comeback, and then to do it under the circumstances they did in the conference championship game against a really good Northern Kentucky team, you just don't do that. I mean, that's hard to do, and it was a remarkable accomplishment. I mean, it just was, and it was so fun to watch. And if you've been around this team, Chris and I have the chance to talk to them at the coaches show, and I interview them after games, and you get to feel that they are really, really together. And Coach Nagy, I coached a lot of years, and there's so many years you have one guy on your team or 2 guys on your team that are just high maintenance. I mean, you just have to deal with problems with them all the time. And if he said it once to me, he said it to me a bunch of times, there are none of those guys on this team. I mean, he just loves coaching this basketball team, and those kind of teams are just a delight to coach because you know what you're going to get every night.
Coming off of 21 games won this season, obviously winning the Horizon and everything like that, going back to the championship game, they were battling a ton of foul trouble, especially in that first half. Things weren't looking good. I'm watching at home on the couch. I'm an alum as well, and I'm biting my nails. I'm texting all my friends and everything like that. My wife is walking around the house pacing because she's an alum too.
Oh, really?
And we get down 16 in the second half, and I'm close to turning it off. I'm close to turning on Netflix, and then something happens.
Yes.
Something happens. That switch flips for the team. They go on that 8-0 run to get right back into the game. And from that point on, it was game on. So when Northern Kentucky hits that 3-pointer to go up, which they had been bricking the entire game, of course they hit it when they needed it. And coach has the confidence not to call a timeout. Kenneth and I were talking about that. Coaches, always want to call a timeout and draw things up. Talk about what coach is doing in practice to have that type of confidence in his team?
Well, you're exactly right. And I asked him that question after the game when I talked with him about calling a timeout. And I'm a coach that would have never called a timeout there either. And the reason being is when you call timeout, you're giving the team a chance to change their defense. Mm-hmm. You got to get the ball inbounds again. And you don't know whether you're going to have to throw it into the backcourt. And you see this happen all the time. Coaches call timeouts and things just don't work out. Mm-hmm. And you have a much, much better chance, even though they hit a basket, they're running back and trying to get into position, and you have a much better chance. Now, Trey Calvin made an unbelievable play. I mean, he hit a jump shot. It was a tough jump shot. It was a floater. But to get to the position where he squared up to the basket and got that shot off, that took some skill and confidence. And but you're right. I mean, at that 11-minute mark when we had the media timeout and we're down 16 points, Chris and I were off the air and we were looking at each other. These last 11 minutes aren't going to be a whole lot of fun. Broadcasting, but we knew we were coming out of a timeout, and Tanner was shooting those 2 free throws. And I think the key play of the game was right after that when Grant Basile took it baseline and dunked it. Yeah, and it got our crowd into the game, even though we were still down, I think 11 points. It got our crowd off their seats a little bit, and then. Our defense Tanner made a great steal, 2 steals in a row, one on a backdoor cut and one where he came up from behind and slapped it out, and we converted both of those into layups. And it happened so fast, Kevin. Yes. It happened so fast. But that's, I was telling Chris off the air, when I was coaching with Coach Underhill, we had a lot of runs like that, but we were pressing. I mean, we were a full court pressing team, so we did that a lot. We weren't pressing. I mean, it was just regular basketball. And I've gone back and looked at it 2 or 3 times just to see how it actually happened. Yeah. Because, the thing, and like I said to Chris one time during that thing, I said, all Northern has to do is make a basket here and we're right back. And they did. I don't know if you remember, we had cut it to 2 and they made a basket to go back to 4. Yeah. And I thought at the time, this next possession is so critical for us because we have got to get back to within 2 points. And we did. We scored. And then we got it up to where we got the lead. Because a lot of times you spend all this energy getting back in the game, and then all that other team has to do is get 1 basket, get 1 free throw or whatever, and you're right back behind the 8 ball. Mm-hmm. And Wright State didn't allow that to happen.
You're talking about defense. Obviously, in the first 4, they're playing the nation's #1 scorer, Peter Kiss, 25 points a game and everything like that. Obviously, we got a lot of scorers on our team, but who's going to get that defensive assignment to slow him down? Because that's key.
They have 2 players. They have Peter Kiss. He's averaging 26, a leading scorer in the country. Man. And then they have a guard. His last name's Pride, I think, and he's averaging 18. But I look at it this way. Our 2 best defensive players are Tim Finke, who's 6'5". I'm sure he'll get Kiss, and Trey Calvin will have the guard. That's where we're the strongest at those 2 positions. Tim is a great defender. Doesn't get enough credit. I think he's the most unappreciated player on Wright State's team. Coach Nagy calls him constantly our most valuable player. He can guard a point guard. He can guard a wing guy. He can guard an off guard. He can guard he's so experienced. He's physical. He can jump. He's not a scorer, but he'll get a lot of assists. He's just a lot of the intangible things, and just plays the game the right way. And Trey Calvin, Trey Calvin's as good a defensive player as there is in the league. How he didn't get picked on the all defensive team is mind-boggling to me. But anyway, I think we've matched up with them pretty well. I've watched a half of their game in preparation. They have a center, 6'8", but he's not a tremendous shot blocker. He's blocked some shots, but I think Grant and Tanner will be able to score inside. They play some zone. I like our chances.
Yeah, definitely. House is going to be rocking. So what colors should us alum wear to the game? Should we be wearing our all green? Should we wear black? Should we wear the gold? What is the color concept where we're going to be going with? I've been rooting for the green out. We're invading enemy territory, but I think we should wear green.
Well, I'll tell you what, there'll be a lot of people there that will be rooting for Wright State. I have a lot of friends that have UD season tickets, and they love Wright State. So I think the crowd will be very much in favor of the green and gold. I can remember times when we played down there, when we played UD, and there were a lot of Wright State people intermingled in the low seats too, not the cheap seats, the low seats down there in the 100 level. You see green sweaters, you'd see gold sweaters. I remember that vividly. So I think we'll get tremendous support from the UD fans, and there'll be a lot of UD fans there because they are allowed to buy those. That's part of their season ticket package. They can buy first 4 tickets, but I anticipate that place will be rocking for Wright State.
Yeah, wear your green, ladies and gentlemen.
I've been doing this for 7 years, and this is the first time.
Is your mic on?
Oh, no.
There you go.
You know, what the heck's wrong with me? I act like I've done this before. My mic was on. Been doing this a long time, 7 years, and this is the most I've ever had people text me say, I need Wright State tickets. I need Wright State tickets. It's the hottest basketball ticket in town at UD Arena. This is like March Madness at its peak, man. It's crazy. But we have Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown hanging out with us here in the studio. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash. Wright State Bryant Wednesday night at UD Arena. First 4 action, of course, and the winner goes on to take on number 1 seed Arizona. But we'll focus on that later on. But again, this matchup, your thoughts on the first 4, Coach, because again, everyone's so kind of back and forth on this, the perception. Let me just start it with this. What's your perception of the first 4? Because I think there's a misperception about what the first 4 is. It is the NCAA tournament.
Oh no, it has been. You know, when it first started out, they brought all 16 seeds here, and so the games were. I went to a couple of them, and I just didn't get that all interested in it because they were all 16 seeds. And then a couple years ago, I mean, it's been more than a couple years ago, they brought in 11s and 12s, and it changed the whole perspective. And they made it a point to say that this is the NCAA tournament. It's a 68 team field now, not a 64. So it's every bit a part. I mean, you get the same amount of money as you do if you don't play in the first 4. So it's every bit a part of the thing. And I heard your discussion on my way over here about whether Wright State should be. I think this is the greatest thing that's happened to Wright State to play in this first 4 for a variety. And I was talking to Tom Archdeacon the other day about this, and he brought up some really good points. He said, Jim, you're going to be the only game on television. You're not going to be competing against another, like you would if you were playing on Thursday or Friday. There's multiple games going on at the same time. So you, as a fan, got to make a decision, which game am I going to watch? You don't have to do that on Wednesday night. You can just watch Wright State. It's in prime time. It's at 6:40 where most people are watching their televisions. It's not at 9:30 at night. And to be honest with you, Wright State needed this. I mean, we need a shot in the arm out there. I mean, we've gone through some struggles, and our president spoke at the selection thing yesterday. I thought she just did a wonderful job talking about how important athletics are, but how it energizes the regular student and important. I just thought it was so good what she said. And this is a great thing for Wright State. Win or lose, the publicity we're going to generate from this, the national. And a lot of kids go to colleges based on, I tell the story. I was speaking years and years ago at a banquet where they were honoring high school students in the Dayton area that were scholars, not athletes, just scholars. And I was speaking at, and I was sitting next to this young girl at the table, and I asked her, I said, where are you going to go to college? And she said, well, I'm going to go to Oklahoma. I said, you're going to go to Oklahoma? Well, how in the world did you pick Oklahoma? And she said, well, they have a good football team. and I thought, well, there you go. And kids pick colleges a lot of times based on the extracurricular stuff, the athletics and stuff like that. So, yeah, this I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great that we have this opportunity to play in our hometown in front of our fans and a lot of UD fans who will support us. I just think it's fantastic. I don't think it work out any better. Believe me, I really don't.
And that was my whole takeaway on this too, because again, no one will ever agree on one thing ever in life. I mean, that's why this country is the way it is. We don't have to get into that, but when it comes to this, I was like, there's so much negativity about it from select few that I'm like, I'm trying to figure out where the negative aspect comes in here. Would you rather than be a 16th seed that's just thrown right into the Wolves to go face Arizona? At least this gets them an opponent that is a like opponent that gives them a chance to, like you talked about, in prime time, the only game on. Everyone's excited for the tip off to the tournament. And it's been a few years, of course, since it's looked normal because of COVID.
And you got to start someplace. And we've never won an NCAA game. So this is a chance to win an NCAA game. And if we win it, we get we get 2 games. I mean, so
Right.
think of the money that it generates for the university, because you get a lot of money playing in 1 game, let alone 2 games. So no, there's not one negative thing about this whole thing. No matter what anybody says, they're just jealous. That's all it is.
All right, well, we'll step away for a few moments. Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown hanging out with us here in the WING studios. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown. We'll be back. 518-1410. We'll open up the phone lines here around the corner so you can call in and ask Coach any questions you have. Reaction again, Wright State, Bryant, first 4 action. I'm excited for it. And again, last time Wright State made the NCAA tournament, they had them all the way in Dallas, and they had Tennessee. I couldn't go. Now I just have to go just a few miles away. So I'm pretty jacked about that. We'll be back in just a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and sunny, a high near 62. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low near 40, and tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy, a high near 62. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Propane, keeping utilities simple and families warm since 1952. See how and more at culletpropane.com.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
Okay, so we got the chorizo dumplings, the cucumber empanadas.
Zara's food truck is popping off.
Come on, guys, let's pick it up, all right?
But if she doesn't find a new chef, her truck will be stuck.
Carl quit this morning, so Jessica, I'm going to need you on the fryer.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Check it out, Limu, a roadside carnival.
Step right up, folks. Test your strength. Come see the fire-breathing baby.
Let's fan out and tell people that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Look, an emu wearing sunglasses.
Limu, you're famous. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Hi, it's Rick. I'm at the Smith's home. Where's Donnie?
Leaves and autumn bookings pile up for Rick's gutter cleaning service.
He's out? Come on.
He needs help before his bottom line gets clogged.
Okay, well, what about Cristiano? We still got 6 houses today.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and 3-time champion.
Pro Football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about joint pain.
Trust me, I know about joint pain. Sure, I made it look easy, but if my body could speak, it would say, I'm in pain.
Are you living with chronic joint pain? Knees, hips, lower back, shoulders? Don't just assume the old treatments are the only treatments.
I've gone under the knife to get rid of pain, but now there are options, and you need to check them out.
Emmett's talking about QC Kinetics, exciting new natural biologic therapies that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. New options now available here.
You can encourage your body to actually heal itself with the help of QC Kinetics.
Real relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics for regenerative restorative treatments with lasting relief.
But now, you and I, we have help. QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. QC Kinetics, 936-0325.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty and Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. We welcome everybody back again, a day removed from Selection Sunday. What a busy weekend. Kev, I did the Flying to the Hoop Top Gun showcase over the weekend. Worked with Justin Brantley. Him and I did the games all weekend long. And just Eric Horseman and his staff do a fantastic job putting on the first four, or not the first, second, the first four in my mind. The Flying to the Hoop showcase, and then of course following it up with this just a few weeks later. But that was pretty cool. Again, a lot of really good teams. Got to see Huntington Prep, a lot of Arizona Compass Prep. I mean, a lot of those prep schools coming in. A lot of kids with really cool stories, and just that was a lot of fun. And they had that back at Vandalia Butler High School, which is where the Flying to the Hoop showcase started. So I thought that was pretty neat. But I enjoyed doing that over the weekend.
Long weekend for you, huh, Kenner?
It was. And then I felt bad because the last game, I'm like following Selection Sunday, like trying to keep up with it. I'm like, but once I found out Wright State was in, I'm like, okay, the rest of, Ohio State got a bad draw. Ohio State worries me. They got Loyola.
I don't know if they got a bad draw. I think they got the draw that they deserved the way
Maybe
they
not
played.
bad. You're right. But it's not a
favorable matchup.
Not a favorable matchup. The draw is what it is.
Sister Jean.
Lenardi had said 2 weeks ago with the way Ohio State was trending, he goes, look out for them to potentially drop into that first four conversation because their resume was pretty similar to Indiana's at the time. But either way, Ohio State, they lost to Oral Roberts last year in the opening round, and now they have Loyola, and Loyola has been one of the better feel-good stories.
Very dangerous.
So I think that's pretty cool. How about Keaton Norris? We had his dad on last week.
I heard that interview. It's great. Yeah.
His dad, of course, coaches over in Columbus, but Keaton's brother plays for Loyola and Braden Norris. So his parents have quite the. Where is the Ohio State seated? Where's that game, Kevin?
Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. It's not terrible. I don't know where. So they can get to the first. They can watch Keaton on Wednesday.
Yeah,
it's
like I don't know where Ohio State plays Thursday or Friday. I don't. Well, I can look.
They
right
play Friday.
Here.
They play Friday.
Yeah, so that
right here on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes, 1410. Yeah, but that worked out well for them because they could watch Keaton on Wednesday and then get to San Diego. Yeah, I believe. I don't know. Oh, Pittsburgh. Sorry,
Pittsburgh.
That's not too far off.
No, short drive.
But again, Wright State and of course Bryant in the first four. Wright State it really was about Wright State. It was the Horizon League auto qualifier that Lenardi had in his first four. And I wasn't paying too close attention early on, but as we got closer and closer, we had Lenardi on. We were able to kind of keep in touch with him. And he just said, look, it's not that the teams in the Horizon League aren't very good, but there are a lot of teams with double-digit losses. That's what put him in that 16 seed category. But as we've talked about, this ended up being a blessing in disguise just because of the opportunity to potentially get that win, have that isolated game in prime time. But following this team throughout, I mean, when did you really start to buy in that? Oh man, this team has what it takes, because they started out 1-7. They were not good to start the season, or at least weren't playing well to start the season.
No, and then we had that debacle at Purdue where we just we caught Purdue I swear, guys, that was probably the best game Purdue played all year. I mean, they looked like an NBA team that night, and what an atmosphere. I'd never been to a Purdue home basketball game. I'd been in Mackey Arena, but I'd never been to a Purdue home basketball game. And I mean, I've told people I coached in Rupp Arena, I coached at Louisville, coached at Ohio State. Nothing compares to what I witnessed that night at Purdue. But I think what hurt us in our league, the Horizon League had never been a 16 seed in the history of the league. But what hurt us was we had 5 teams that were just not good at all, and they were like in the. I think we had 4 teams that were in the 300s, and so that's 8 games against teams in the 300s. You're just not going to have a good net when that happens. And I'm not a fan of the net at all because, I've never been able to figure out who decides what your net starts at. I mean, it doesn't, and they all don't start at the same place. So if you have let's just say an average net and you're in the Horizon League and you're playing IUPUI twice, you're playing Green Bay twice, you're playing Robert Morris twice, you're going to have a horrible net. The Horizon League this year, there were 6 teams that were really good basketball teams. And that's why the league was so competitive. That's why, the Cleveland State, who won the league, had 6 losses, and Wright State had 7. It was a competitive league. I mean, there were 6 really good basketball teams. It was the bottom half of the league that drug it down, and that's why, our net rating was so low. I mean, it wasn't good at all. I think we ended up 180 or something, and I guarantee you, we're a better basketball team than that. I mean, to answer your question, I don't know. We were so inconsistent all season long. Every time you thought that, okay, we've turned the corner here, we're going to be okay, then we'd lay an egg. I mean, and the last egg, the last 2 eggs we laid were brutal. The one up at Milwaukee, where we just couldn't throw it in the ocean, and then at Detroit, where we had played on Friday night, upset Oakland. They hadn't lost a home game. We upset them on their home floor on national television, and then we have to come back, like 36 hours later and play a noon game at Detroit, and we just were sleepwalking. I mean, and Detroit's good. I mean, they had a great player, Antoine Davis, who got off to a great start in that game, and we weren't there that day, and that was a tough loss. But I can remember after that game, we had a coach's show that following Monday night, and I said to Coach Nagy, I said, it's a 5-game season right now. 5 games. Of course, he doesn't like to talk like that because he's just looking at the next game. But I said, it's just 5 games. 5 games, you're in the NCAA tournament. And I said that to we had Tim Finke on that same night, and I mentioned to Tim. He says, "You're exactly right, Coach. 5 games. That's how we're approaching it." And I don't know if they approached it that way or not, but look what happened. 1 at a time, 5, and you're in the tournament. And they got they had to do some things. I mean, to come back twice, 14 down, you're not going to do that very often. But they were able to do it when they got to the point where they had to do something. They found a way to do it.
You've been around this program pretty much from the beginning, and you've been around a lot of coaches. You've coached there. Coach Nagy, what buttons is he pushing that coaches in the past have not? And that doesn't mean coaches in the past weren't good, but what's different? The state of the program, the league. I mean, obviously it's a perfect storm that Coach Nagy's come in, 5 straight championships, of course, in some capacity, 3 regular season titles, 2 conference tournament titles, the first coach in program history to take him to 2 NCAA, to multiple NCAA tournaments. I mean, the one thing that I've been most impressed with is the fact that he's done it with multiple recruiting classes now. Yeah. I've always said, it's tough to build a class that's good enough to get you to the tournament, as you alluded to earlier. But to lose that class, to lose the Benzingers, to lose the Louder Loves, to lose the Wamplers, to lose those guys, and then to come right back around and replace every one of them with similar players. Him and his staff, they have an eye for what type of player they want. I mean, every point guard almost looks and plays and has the same personality. The bigs, something about Coach Nagy, he just has a good eye for picking out good post players, raw post players at that. Loudon did not look like a damn basketball player when he got here. Grant Basile, and I mean this with all due respect, he couldn't walk and chew gum. It looked like he was a very awkward, taller player. player. Now the footwork and the skill set, the way they develop players is unbelievable. What is it about Coach Nagy that you've seen just compared to the coaches in the past in the program?
Well, he's very level-headed. He's a family man. I can remember the very first practice I went to. I was sitting with his dad, and I knew his dad because his dad was a coach at UIC, an assistant coach at UIC when I was still coaching at Wright State. And I was watching this practice with his dad, and the practice ended, and I'd never met Coach Nagy ever. I'd never talked with him, didn't know anything about him, and he comes over and sits down between the two of us. And I said, I really enjoyed your practice. I said, it was so different than what's been going on here. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, first off, there was absolutely no swearing, and there was none. I mean, I said, your practice was so much like what Coach Underhill and I did when we were here. I think when he got the job, my biggest concern was, here they are coming from South Dakota. They've never recruited this area. How's that going to work? And boy, it was a seamless transition. And I really give his assistant coaches, Brian Cooley, Clint Sargent, Sharif Chambliss, I give them a tremendous amount of credit because, at the college level, your assistant coaches do the recruiting. I mean, the head coach finishes the deal, but the assistant coaches find the talent and recruit the talent and those guys. I was impressed with a lot of coaching staffs, but I was never more impressed than I was with the coaching staff that came with Coach Nagy. I mean, those guys, they had great personalities. They could talk to people. They were fun to be around. They understood the game. They were great team. I'd go to practice, and I was so impressed with how they ran practice. And you're right about developing players. I mean, Loudon Love, I mean,
the Bengals could have used him on the line at the beginning.
and Grant Basile, I can remember I met Grant Basile when we practiced at his high school when we were up in Milwaukee, his senior year in high school, and I had a chance to talk with Grant, and he was so excited about coming to college. And it's so neat because Logan Woods, the young man that they just signed from Fairfield High School, Logan has been to multiple games this year. He was at the selection show yesterday, and I think that's so cool because it shows he's really, really committed and really, really interested. And so yeah, they've done a really good job. Now, what's going to happen next year? They lose these four, they're juniors now. A lot of people don't understand this, but all four of those guys can come back. I got 2 years of eligibility left with the COVID thing. I mean, Grant has 2 years, Tim has 2 years, Trey has 2 years, and Tanner Holden has 2 years if they use their COVID year. Now, whether they will, I don't know, but a decision will have to be made probably next fall as to what they're going to do so the staff knows what to do recruiting-wise. But they are eligible to come back. A lot of people don't know that, but they are eligible to come back. So the program is in really good hands. They had 2 kids sitting out this year who are quality players. Alex Hubricks is probably their best shooting guard. He was out this year. All year he had to have back surgery. And then the freshman from Chillicothe, my goodness, is he going to be a good player? So the program's in really good hands. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens, next year with these 4 really quality players that they have. I mean, all 4 of them probably will score over 1,000. If they haven't scored over 1,000, they will in their career. And how often does that happen? And I got 2 that have 1,000 points and 500 rebounds. I mean, that hardly ever happens.
518-1410. We'll step away for a few moments, and then we'll start to dive into, of course, the preview of Wednesday night's matchup against Bryant at UD Arena. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown with us here in studio. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only 2 places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Get your lawn and garden ready for spring with 11% off everything at Menards. Start with Menards Premium Crabgrass Preventer and Lawn Fertilizer. A 17-pound bag is just $12.99 after sale price and 11% off. And Wood Ecology's best natural wood mulch to your landscape projects. Just $175 for a 2 cubic foot bag after sale price and 11% off. Good through March 19th. Savings are mail-in rebates. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect opportunity for a significant business upgrade. Save up to 45% on Dell computers with Windows 11 Pro and get an easy start to your workday. Plus, enjoy special pricing on Dell docks, monitors, servers, and more, all with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today to find the right tech for your business with fast, free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, but when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So we're going to tap into human emotion, first with some music. Then in a serious tone, I'll say, save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive. And even though it was about saving money with Progressive, we'll fade out the music so you know it was poignant. Wow, powerful stuff. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Tired of being tracked online? DuckDuckGo can help. They help millions of people like you take control of their personal information online. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
My leg was painful, red, and swollen just doing the crossword puzzle. I could have put off telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
He told his doctor and found out his leg pain, swelling, and redness are deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot which could travel to the lungs and lead to a pulmonary embolism, which could cause chest pain or discomfort or difficulty breathing and be deadly. If you have one or more of these symptoms, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process, except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents. And Doug.
Don't you just love the smell of old books? Shh, this is a library. Sorry, ma'am. We're looking for a book titled Liberty Mutual Customizes Your Car Insurance so you only pay for what you need.
I don't think we carry that, but check nonfiction.
He really does devour literature.
Please leave.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Straight Talk Wireless now has the new iPhone 13 with cinematic mode, which lets you focus on what matters. And with Straight Talk, you can focus on getting the best deal. Our Silver Unlimited plan is just $45 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. And it runs on the largest, most dependable networks, now with nationwide 5G. With the iPhone 13 on Straight Talk, you can share whatever you want, wherever you want. Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Lowe's 100 Hometowns, which benefited more than 1 million Americans last year, is aiming to provide more impact projects this year. Nominate your hometown project in need by March 28th. Visit Lowes.com/hometowns.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
All right, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. Selection Sunday has come and gone. We don't know what the bracket looks like, so make sure you head to wingam.com and get your Basketball Mayhem bracket submitted. It's Basketball Mayhem presented by Frickers. $100 in Frickers bucks will be rewarded to the total winner, or to the winner for the grand prize. And you know what? In picking, brackets are easy, Kev. You know that.
Absolutely, man. I get it right all the time.
If you get a perfect bracket, wins you $1 million.
How lovely would that be?
I mean, it's so simple. Pick the team to win, and there you go. I mean, they can't look. No one's offering $1 million to fill out a perfect bracket if they were if they weren't confident that no one's going to fill out a perfect bracket. But you never know. You could be the first in history to do it. So there's that. But head to wingam.com. Basketball Mayhem Bracket Challenge presented by Frickers. $100 in Frickers Bucks awarded to the total round winner. So make sure you go and get your picks submitted. Excited to be hanging out with you here today on a Monday. Wright State in the NCAA tournament. They are seeded against Bryant in the Battle of 16s at UD Arena Wednesday night, 6:40 the tip-off. NCAA First for action. Open practices tomorrow. I'll have that time and information for you. I don't want to tell you the wrong time, so I want to make sure I pull that up and that it's in front of me to make sure I'm giving everyone that opportunity. But for those that thought you never see Wright State at UD Arena, well, they'll be there practicing tomorrow for their matchup on Wednesday night, of course, against Bryant, and we'll have more on that in a bit. Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown hanging out with us here in studio, and you just have so many stories, Coach, that I could sit back and listen to you share for hours. And one story I always have you share when you come on is the Zydrunas Ilgauskas was committed to Wright State back in the day. And there was a kind of a snowball effect that had led to conversations with Dirk Nowitzki. You, of course, had Potapenko at the time. I mean, there was a door open to have quite the very interesting roster that could have changed the direction of the program, that's for sure.
Well, it did with Vitali. And it all started years and years ago when we took our team to Europe on a 24-day trip. We started we were in Holland, and when we were in Holland, we stayed at their Olympic training site, and we met a guy by the name of Vladimir Hager. He was in charge of their basketball federation at the time, and I struck up a friendship with him. And this was before, cell phones and all that stuff. And I would correspond with him, and he would like NBA magazines and stuff like that. So I'd send him Street and Smith magazines. So we stuck up this friendship. And one time he said, you guys ought to recruit from over here. We got a lot of good players over here. And so I said, well, if you have somebody, let me know. And so that's how it all got started. We recruited Mike Nahar. He was a 7-foot player. He played on our 93 team that went to the NCAA tournament. And that started the whole process. And he told me about Dirk Nowitzki, who was in Germany. And he said, I got all the information. He faxed it to me. That's how we corresponded, was fax machines. No, he didn't. There was no, but fax machines were great because you'd get it right away. And he sent me this fax with all of Dirk's information, who he played for, his phone number and all that. So I call this guy called Dirk Nowitzki on the phone, and he answers the phone. He speaks English very fluently, and we're talking, and he was so nice. He appreciated the call. He said, I just love Germany. I love the team I'm playing for. I really don't want to, come to the United States and this and that. And we talked for, 4 or 5 minutes and hung up. So I waited about 3 or 4 months. I called again, what the heck, I tried again. And it was the same way. And fast forward, I don't know how old he was at the time, maybe 17, 18 years old. He was, they have club teams over there. They don't have high school teams. So I'm watching the NBA draft maybe 4 or 5 years later, and I'm sitting there watching it. And in the first round, the Milwaukee Bucks, I don't know if they were called the Bucks at the time, but the Milwaukee Bucks select Dirk Nowitzki. Well, you don't forget that name. Mm-hmm. I mean, it had been some time since I sat right up in the chair, and I called Ralph. I called Coach Underhill right away. I said, you know that player that we were talking to from Germany? Dirk, he just got drafted in the first round. Wow. Well, if you remember, a lot of people wouldn't remember this. Back then, at that time, when you drafted a player in the NBA, you had his rights for 1 year. And when the year was up, you lost his rights. So you had 1 year to sign him. It's not that way now. I think you have him forever. But back then, you had him for 1 year. Well, the night before the following NBA draft, he was traded from Milwaukee to the Dallas Mavericks. And he went to Dallas because of Don Nelson's son, who had worked in Germany, and he had developed a relationship, and that's why he came to the United States. The Zydrunas Ilgauskas story, we had Vitali on campus, and he was a student. It was at the end of his sophomore year. He had played 1 year, and it was that summer. And we got a phone call from somebody that was representing Zydrunas Ilgauskas that he was a player. He was 7'1". He wanted to come to the United States and play for 1 year and then put his name in the draft. He told me we had called Minnesota, the University of Minnesota. Clem Haskins was the coach there, but they didn't have a scholarship and wanted to know if we had a scholarship. They knew Vitale was there. That was the reason they called us. And I said, well, yeah, we have a scholarship. So we started the process. And it was probably 2 weeks before school started. I got a phone call from the same guy, and he told me, I've got some terrible news, Coach Brown. Zydrunas just broke his foot, and he's going to have to sit out a year. And if you remember, when Cleveland drafted him, he had serious microfracture surgery on his foot. And who would have thought that he would be able to play for 19 years in the NBA? But that's exactly what he did. And and then he and Vitale got drafted. Vitale was the 12th player picked. Kobe Bryant was the 13th pick. And Zydrunas Ilgauskas was the 14th player picked in that draft. Yes,
it was the Wright State draft. Right?
Yeah, it's the Wright State draft. Yeah, and Vitale had a phenomenal career. You know, Vitale's an assistant coach now with the Memphis Grizzlies. He was on the Cleveland Cavs staff when they won the World's Championship. And I asked him when I went up there to see him one time. I asked him, how is coaching LeBron James? He says, Coach, he's the hardest working player I've ever been around in my life. And that's saying something for Vitale, because Vitale was the hardest working college player I was ever associated with. The guy was obsessed with getting better. I mean, it was phenomenal to watch him work out. I mean, he just...
Take me back to that Vitale Potapenko era, because when he was drafted, there was a lottery pick. There was a first-round NBA draft pick. That doesn't happen often, especially from a school the size of Wright State. What was the coverage like? I mean, Vitale, what was that like? What was Wright State basketball like during that time? I mean, we know how people react to stars in basketball right now, but like at the time, like what was the surrounding like when it came to Vitale at Wright State? What kind of support did he have?
Oh, he was a special player. He really was a special player. And he had a gentleman here in town who has passed away tragically. His name was Jerry Rapp. And this whole story, I mean, I could write a book about the recruitment of Vitale Potapenko, because I was speaking downtown to a Rotary group. And as I got done speaking, you always open it up for questions. And we had a couple foreign players on our team. We had Mike Nahar, who had just graduated, and we had Steno Koss from Austria. And this gentleman asked me a question. He says, you had some success recruiting foreign players. Are you recruiting any right now? And I told him, I says, yeah, we're recruiting a player from Russia, but I'm having a really hard time because he doesn't speak English, and it's a complicated process. That's all I said. So this gentleman comes up to me after I'm done, and he says, Coach Brown, you mentioned about a player from the Soviet Union that you're recruiting. I said, yeah. I said, he's from the Ukraine, Kiev. He said, well, I might be able to help you out. And I said, are you serious? He says, well, yeah. He says, he was an attorney. Jerry Rapp was an attorney at a downtown law firm. And he had a guy in his law firm that traveled. He was a Russian. He traveled back and forth occasionally, maybe every 2 months, to St. Petersburg, Russia. He said, he might be able to help you out, because what had happened was Vitale was probably the best player in the Ukraine at the time. The team he was on had won back-to-back championships in the Ukraine, but they had his passport. The coach of the team had his passport, so Vitale couldn't leave the country if he wanted to, and this was our problem. We it wasn't going to do us any good if he wanted to come, but we couldn't get him out of the country.
Right.
So I met this gentleman. Ralph and I went and had lunch with this gentleman, and amazingly, he was willing to help us out. He went over there. He got him a new passport. He translated all of his, because Vitale was in college over there. They didn't have an athletic program, so that's why he was eligible immediately when he came to the United States. He did all of that for us. And I mean, a guy, Ralph and I didn't, I mean, it all happened so accidentally after a little speaking engagement downtown. And, there was a lot of other things that entered into this whole thing. But yeah, he came to the United States and probably make close to $50 million. He's his assistant coach in the NBA right now. I mean, it's a success story that you wouldn't believe. If someone wrote a movie on it, he's got his parents over here now. He's got his sister over here. So it's really heartwarming. Tom Archdeacon just did a really nice article on Vitali about, he's got family back in the Ukraine, cousins and stuff. It's a sad story what's going on over there, but I'm just so happy that he's out and he's got his family out, his closest family. So yeah,
that is good to hear, because that was kind of what was going through my mind. I'm not realizing that, with everything going on over there, that is good to hear. Last thing here, and again, breaking news for the Cincinnati Reds. The rebuild is officially in full force, by the way. Jesse Winker's been traded.
Oh, my gosh.
Suarez has been traded. Sonny Gray traded over the weekend. So, folks, I do know that. We will get into that coming up in hour number 3.
It'll be a long summer.
But get ready, because Reds baseball is coming right back here on 1410 Wing AM. So they're not doing me any favors, man. No, with players like Vitali, again, staples of the program, it was pretty cool. At that championship game last week, the former players that were in attendance, obviously headlined by Loud and Love. This is something that I've said that, this was no disrespect to Billy Donlin and no disrespect to former players but like for me in my time here, with Billy early on, very good teams, 20-plus wins, in the Horizon League title game 3 the last 4 years before he was let go. But there just never seemed to be that connection outside of your long-term season ticket holders. But like the crowd never seemed to connect with the players, never really seemed to connect with the program at that time. That's what I find most different about this Coach Nagy run team. But like Loud and Love is that first player now that when he comes back, I watched him back. You had him on a couple weeks ago when he was at the Nutter Center. Kids were lining up. Like, this is the first time I've seen a player that actually little kids, that fans stopped and said, "There's Louder." And there hasn't been a player at Wright State like that in a while.
We had that at one time. I mean, we really did. I mean, and when Ed Schilling took my place, a lot of that disappeared. For whatever reason, Ed just kind of dished the former players, had no connection whatsoever with the former players. And I don't know why, but it really was a disconnect, because I was hearing it all the time from players. We haven't heard from the new coach and this and that. And I was coaching a high school team, so I wasn't paying much attention to that. But it started to come back. I'll be honest with you. It started to come back with Paul Biancardi. Paul made an honest effort to re-engage with former athletes, and I think had he been able to stay, that would have it would have happened a lot faster. And then, of course, he left because of that Ohio State mess. He unfortunately got caught up in, and then they brought in losing the Clemson coach, Brad Brunell. Yeah, and Brad wasn't there long enough. He was only there 3 years, 2.5 really. And Billy did a good job. I thought Billy did a good job trying to reconnect, but it takes time when you lose those people. It's hard to get them back. And I'm like you. I was so thrilled to see so many of these former players at our last 2 home games. And then I venture to say our last 2 home games, we and I didn't see them all, but I'll bet you we had more than 15 former players back. A lot of them stay up in the beer garden. They don't even come down to the floor. But I mean, and then over in Indianapolis, Kevin Melson was there, Devon Duggins. I mean, I could go on and on. Loud and Love, as you said. I mean, it was really refreshing to see that kind of. And Bob Grant will be able to tell you more, because that's who they call. Because they're really connected with him. So yeah, it's good to see, and you have to have that. You have to, and that's where I think UD's done a great job with their former players. Yeah, I love to go to UD Arena and see the pictures that they have. I wish they had. That's one of my pet peeves about the Nutter Center. You go up on the concourse, and you don't. There's no connection with the history of the program other than the Hall of Fame in the front. They need to, that be something I think that needs to be worked on. But UD's done a phenomenal job with that. They have a lot of things in there on their concourse celebrating their past, which is, as really, really important.
Yeah, about Von Duggins, he said, I was catching up with him in Indy, and he had said, that, because I was talking to him about that. I said, for one, I think it's really cool that you're here, but like watching him interact with the coaching staff, that's really what caught my attention. I said, so you have a good relationship with this staff? He said, oh yeah, he's really close with Clint Sargent.
Yes.
They played against one another overseas.
Yes.
Or whatever, but he said he loves this staff, and he said that they have he doesn't get to make it to many games because he's in ministry, and a lot of his work is done on,
right.
You said the weekend. So, but But no, he said anytime that he's close enough to the program, but he talked all the time about how, yes, him and Clint were real close from their time playing overseas against one another.
And Clint's a phenomenal coach. I mean, a family man. He's got everything in the right order. I mean, I think Clint's a really good, and Travis Trice the same way. And of course, Dan Beret. The success of a college coach today is so determined by the assistant coaches, and Scott's done a great job with his staff. He really has. They're quality people.
Yeah, last week when we were talking, of course, about the two players, one at Loyola and then one here.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was talking about the fact that, I asked about the coaching staff. He said, "Oh yeah, that Clint Sargent was one of the big. He loved Coach Nagy, but Clint Sargent was one of the big selling pieces, is why he felt comfortable sending his son."
9 times out of 10, the first interaction you have is with an assistant coach, and an assistant coach can turn you off. He can turn off a high school coach, or he can make an impression right away where it's I want to find out more about that school. So the assistant coaches that you have, they have to have great personalities, they have to have great work ethic, and they have to be able to understand talent. And I think that you mentioned it. I mean, they have an eye. It's funny, I said something to Clint because Coach Nagy can't come out and do post-game shows over at the conference tournament. So they brought up, Clint came out, and I said to Clint, I said, "Clint, I just love to watch this basketball team because as a former coach, you never see guys demonstrate anything after a basket or a good play. They just keep the same expression, and it's so refreshing to see that, because in today's game, a guy makes a basket. Well, that's what you're supposed to do, and he celebrates and all this. Those kids at Wright State don't do any of that." And Clint laughed and he said, "Well, we recruited that, Coach Brown," and you can tell they do. Absolutely, you recruit.
That's what I meant by you watch players leave and they're replaced with players that look and shoot and just have the same personalities. And I remember early on when Coach Nagy was here, talked to him about his thoughts on the transfer portal, and he goes, honestly, it's going to impact them at times. They'll benefit from it at times, but it wasn't a big concern just because he knew the quality of guys he was bringing in. That he's bringing in guys that, I'm not saying that they can't leave, but he knows that he's confident that they're not looking to leave.
Right,
and I
exactly.
think that players have left over the years, but the main core has always stayed the same.
Exactly.
So.
No, you're exactly right. And that's a concern today. This transfer portal it's changed college athletics big time. I mean, it's probably been the single most negative thing that's happened in college athletics in my lifetime. It's terrible what it's doing, because kids are leaving and coach yells at him and he's, "Well, I'm out of here." Kids are leaving in the middle of a season. I mean, we had three teams in our league that lost players in the middle of the season.
IUPUI was putting up signs on Facebook and Twitter saying open tryouts, and there's 5 games left in the season.
Yeah, I really feel for Matt Crenshaw. I mean,
I was starting to stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
I still had a little bit left in the tank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Coach, last thing, you mentioned the Nutter Center a little bit ago. My favorite with Northern Kentucky, BB&T Arena. That place,
beautiful place.
That's a perfect mid-major size arena.
Yeah.
Just
they did it right. They did it right down there.
What the Nutter Center? Where do you on the Nutter Center again? When that place is packed, I mean, that is an unbelievable place. Even the 6,000 fans in attendance for most home games. Still a very good atmosphere, but your thoughts on the Nutter Center again is, it's just kind of getting a little older now.
Yeah, the university doesn't have the funds right now to do some renovation to it. It's over 30 years old now. It needs some work, but it's a great place to watch a college basketball game. I mean, there isn't a bad seat in there, no matter where you sit. That's why I mentioned the beer garden. It's up on the concourse, and there's fans that stay up there and watch the game because it's such a great view. And eventually they're going to have to make some modifications, renovations, and once they start and things are looking up student wise. Their enrollment is projected to be a little bit more next year than what it was. It's just a tough time right now, attracting students to higher education, because kids have figured out they don't have to go to a 4-year school to get a good job. There's other opportunities, but we'll get through this. And Wright State's both my kids graduate, both my boys graduated, my 2 daughter-in-laws both graduated. You guys, It's a great school. It's just a great school, and it's been great for the Dayton community.
Maybe if I finally pay them all that damn money, maybe they can get that thing renovated. Your last thing on your way out, but you have a grandson that plays here locally as well. I know you're super proud of him.
I am. He has made tremendous progress. I mean, he's not real tall. His dad's 6'5", he's 5'11", but he's very strong. And he started as a freshman on Springboro's basketball team, and he came back this year and had a solid sophomore year. And he got elected to the special mention team, all GWC. And GWC is a heck of a league, and to make that special mention team as a sophomore is quite an achievement. And he has a passion for basketball. He really loves the game, and I talked with him yesterday because he had his first AAU tournament, which they won, and he was real excited about getting back to playing again. So yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to go watch him play. It really is.
Nice.
It's 2 more years at least.
It's the best of both worlds for you because you're close with the program still. You're getting to be a part of all the games, calling them, and you're still home to be able to go and be there for your family as well. So I think that's really cool. Coach, I was looking forward to you coming in today. I texted you late last night after we knew. I figured we were going to be at UD Arena. I just wanted to kind of see how the chips were going to fall, if you will. But thank you for coming in. He said the Nutter Center's 30 and needs some work. That's how most people describe me, by the way. I just thought of that. So
I didn't say
right.
that.
I didn't say that.
I think you got it right, Kenner.
Coach, again, Wright State Bryant. Final thoughts on that matchup?
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and it's a game we can win. I mean, if we play well, I think we can win, and it'd be a great night in Wright State basketball history for sure.
All right, Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown, awesome enough to spend an hour with us here today. Coach, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Anytime, my pleasure.
Hour 3 coming up next.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and sunny, a high near 62. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low near 40, and tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy, a high near 62. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Propane, keeping utilities simple and families warm since 1952. See how and more at culletpropane.com.
I miss my baby. Someone stole my baby. By the way, my baby is my landscaping truck that was literally stolen from a job site. Baby, won't you please come home?
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with 30-plus customizable coverage options, Progressive Commercial keeps your business humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I love my sweetheart. By the way, that's my riding lawnmower.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
At Tub Towels, we started with the toughest messes and quickly realized Tub Towels heavy-duty cleaning wipes can clean just about anything, like stubborn brake dust, spilled paint, even permanent marker. There's literally thousands of uses. Proudly made in the USA with over 35,000 five-star reviews. Find Tub Towels heavy-duty cleaning wipes at your local auto parts store, the Home Depot, Lowe's, and more. Look for the big yellow tub.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital. Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans. So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
You make 35,000 decisions every day. Are your gambling decisions good ones? If you struggle with a problem with gambling, call 1-800-589-9966 for free confidential support. Do you have a loved one who struggles with a problem with gambling? This 24/7 helpline also provides resources on how to support a loved one who may need help. Call 1-800-589-9966 or visit beforeyoubet.org.
This is important news. If you have unfiled tax returns, the IRS is shifting gears and ramping up investigations on non-filers this year. If you fail to file your tax returns for a year or more, or you owe back taxes, now's the time to call Optima Tax Relief before the IRS finds you. Optima is America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm, specialized in helping individuals, families, and businesses get right with the IRS. They're experts in the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, a powerful new program that can make resolving tax issues easier. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, Optima's award-winning team has helped thousands of people protect their paychecks, bank accounts, homes, and businesses by putting their tax problems to rest, resolving over $1 billion in tax debts for their clients. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-364-9188. 800-364-9188. 800-364-9188.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, but when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So instead, we're going to have someone else say it. Because for some reason, when a random person talks about how great something is in a commercial, it's more believable.
I saved with a Progressive home and auto bundle.
And there you have it. I mean, I'm not sure why she's more believable than me, but either way, you get the point about the saving. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Look at this. J.D. Power awarded Cricket #1 customer service and purchase experience in the MVNO segment.
Huh. Award-winning service has a nice ring to it. Say it again.
Award-winning service.
Ooh, again.
Hear ye, hear ye. Announcing 2 more reasons to switch to Cricket and their award-winning service.
Wow, it does have a nice ring to it. Switch and see for yourself.
For J.D. Power 2022 wireless customer care and purchase experience mobile network operator performance studies award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/find. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/find. That's ZipRecruiter.com/find. ZipRecruiter.com/find.
Lowe's 100 Hometowns, which benefited more than 1 million Americans last year, is aiming to provide more impact projects this year. Nominate your hometown project in need by March 28th. Visit Lowe's.com/hometowns.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, follow along. Noticed more and more people have kind of been jumping on that page over the last couple of weeks, of course, especially as we've inched closer and closer to the NCAA tournament, which we now know what the bracket officially looks like, which is pretty dang cool. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here. The reason I said to follow the Justin Kinner Show page on Facebook is you can watch the show live, and that's where we are at right now. Thank you to Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown, who just spent an entire hour with us here. And again, rightfully so. Again, Wright State back in the tournament. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's a program that I think deserves a lot more attention than what it gets in town. And that doesn't mean in spite of the other team in town. I just mean that, hey, that's everything in life always comes down to that. Okay? Well, if we debate who's the best at something, it's always this person's the best because this other person stinks. And it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to always be that as far as I'm concerned. But it drives me crazy. You can never talk about one program without the other one's fan base having to try to dilute what the other one's doing. But nonetheless. So Michael Zwick on Facebook, he says, welcome. Let me make sure everyone can read it. As far as the setting here. One moment. Says, welcome, Jim. Great coach, great insights. Of course, talking about Coach Jim Brown. So, yes, I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Damon Hahn says he can remember going and watching Vitaly Potapenko back in the day, and he randomly was at his church on a Sunday. I was probably 11 or 12. He was starstruck when he walked in. But that's the thing, like being drafted that high. That's why I was like, what was that like? Because in today's day and age, like with, I wasn't here during that time. I can't imagine what at a school like Wright State having that caliber of a player. So
I just, stuff. I'm from Cleveland, and when the Cavs drafted him, I said, who? And then when he eventually started playing for the Cavs, I was like, oh, God, he can play. Like, he went where? Never heard of Wright State. And then I heard of Wright State that way, and then I end up going there.
Well, and
small world.
And look, and not a lot of Wright State's not a household name. I get that, but again, it's building up. But my favorite thing is you want to talk about how you haven't heard of Wright State. A lot of people are probably saying that as they're looking at these first 4 brackets. Jay Billis should know better, though.
Uh-oh.
Jay Billis, he picks Wright State to win on Wednesday.
Right.
He is a big fan of the Wright State Vikings.
Huh?
The Wright State Viking.
Who?
The Wright State Vikings.
Oh, no.
Yes, Jay Billis says the Wright State Vikings are making their 4th NCAA appearance, going 0-3 in their previous stops in 93, 7, and 18. He goes on to highlight Tanner Holden, who averages over 20 points a game. But he goes, Wright State can shoot, they can score, but can the Vikings get stops against the high NCAA seed or against a high NCAA seed? The answer is probably no, which is why he's picking Arizona to win. But he does pick the Wright State Vikings to be Bryant. How about that? But no, the Wright State Raiders, of course, but I got a good kick out of that. Look, what this says to me is that this was just a simple copy and paste. He had the Cleveland State Vikings right there.
Yep.
And just to limit, it is what it is. I actually talked to someone over the weekend, Dennis Gates, great coach over at Cleveland State, that he's going to be gone. He'll be like they're playing Xavier in the NIT.
Yeah.
UD and Xavier could run into one another. Like, I want that to happen. I want
be awesome.
I want Dayton and Xavier to run into one another. I think that would be next week. If both win out, they would have to win this game and one more before running into each other next week, if I'm not mistaken. But there's some good matchups. The NIT I just hate that so many people crap on that because, man, the matchups you get in that, like a lot of these teams are the same ones that we're saying, man, they should have been in. They're good quality, great quality teams. You get fantastic matchups, but a chance to see Dayton and Xavier. I mean, Cleveland State's playing at Xavier. That's a hell of a interstate matchup right there. UD playing at Toledo. These are matchups you usually don't see. I mean, there's a chance that, if Xavier, if the Cintas Center was being used that night, you could have ended up seeing, them play at Cleveland State. I've always said that if there's ever a time that Wright State and UD end up in the NIT at the same time, there was a chance 2 years ago that had the chips fallen right, like UD would have had to play at the Nutter Center unless, the athletics department at UD would have thrown a temper tantrum and not let it happen. And I'm pretty sure that the entire athletic staff at UD was doing everything they could to kick Wright State out of the first four. I brought, I'm just saying, where do they held a game day at? I'm sure they said, well, can Wright State play their first four game over there? I'm just saying, and if UD, like, they have to go on the road to play at Toledo, maybe they can ask Bob Grant if they can use the Nutter Center to host Toledo instead of having to go. Yeah,
that would have been pretty cool.
That would still involve putting fans in the Nutter Center, and I know how adamantly they are against that. But good, congratulations on filling up Savage Hall, by the way, or whatever the heck it is. All right, I'm done. I'm just trying to stick to the college basketball thing because I'm dreading going into this. I don't want to transition over to this conversation.
Real quick, before you go there, I'll say this about the NIT. We, as a fan base or college basketball fan base, don't care about the NIT until the championship or the Final Four, which happens at Madison Square Garden. It normally, the Final Four happens on a Saturday night, and then the championship game is like on a Monday. So when you get on Madison Square, people normally tune in to see the NIT. But like all the games leading up to it, there's nobody printing off brackets, filling out brackets for the NIT. There's nobody wagering money on the NIT on a normal basis and everything like that. So for UD's sake, for our entertainment's sake, I need UD to make it to the NIT championship game.
But you're absolutely right, and there's nothing wrong with this tournament. And look, UD is a great opportunity. And keep in mind, this roster is so dang young that this is actually, yes, you want them in the NCAA tournament, but this is the type of tournament that this young roster can go and win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not an impossible task like the A10 tournament. I mean, it's a tournament they can actually win. But in all seriousness, get good quality wins throughout this A10 tournament. Knock off Toledo on the road. And by the way, I have more respect for UD when they go on the road and knock off teams than having to pay a gajillion dollars to bring them in or have to do the weak way out, which is, let's play on a neutral floor. Well, no, go play there. Like, I just don't understand why you always have to constantly do the home and homes that you block from happening other places, but you get mad when they get blocked from you. But that's why I like the NIT. To go see Dayton play on the road at Toledo, you'll never see that. You won't. Neil Sullivan and company will never agree to that in a regular season schedule model. Like that'll never happen. That's why I like the NIT from that perspective of you get to see matchups you normally don't. Get to see Wright State play Clemson a few years ago. In fact, they lost by one possession. I mean, that was Wright State almost knocked off Clemson in the NIT years ago. So I like these NIT matchups at times because sometimes due to arenas not being available unexpectedly, sometimes you get those weird matchups where, as you talked about, Kentucky having to go play at Robert Morris.
Mm-hmm.
Had Clemson not been available to play at their home court that night, they would have had to play at the Nutter Center. I mean, how crazy would that be to see that? That stuff happens. But you know what? That's for the NIT folks. We're talking about the NCAA.
Oh, man. It's only Monday.
I'm just giving her a hard time. But all right. So Damon Hahn says, who remembers about 10 years ago when UD won the NIT? Everyone in town was an NIT fan then, and they still should be now. If this UD team goes on to win the NIT championship, you shouldn't look down on it, shouldn't mock it, because you know what? If Deron Holmes and Malachi Smith and these guys stay together for at least 1 to 2 more years, this will be that season that everyone looks back on and says, man, I remember that group coming in as freshmen. When they came in and they won that NIT championship, and then they go on the next year. Like, I expect big things out of them next year. They better. Anthony Grant has not made the NCAA tournament. The 2020 season, I'm not going to gloss over that like it was nothing. They were freaking number 3 in the country. You had an NBA lottery pick. You would have been one of the 1 seeds. You would have had a good chance to make a run in the tournament. I mean, yes, I am very well aware of all of that. But there comes a point where at some point, and by the way, the Florida job just opened up today. Okay. Let's not act like, Anthony Grant's name will be brought up for that Florida job. Do I think he's going there? No. I think that there's more of a reward factor here for winning at Dayton, for doing it at Dayton, to prove that wasn't just an Obi Toppin one and done type year, that it could be replicated. And Deron Holmes could be that ticket to prove that. And I think Anthony Grant is super talented enough as a head coach to get continued talent like that coming in. But what is going to end up happening if you can't prove that you could win with this talent outside of just that 1 year with Obi? Are you going to be as alluring of as a program on the road out, trying to get these guys to come play there? These kids want to see that, like Obi Toppin. There's a reason Deron Holmes and others looked at this program and said, I can go play there. I can go win there. Look what Obi Toppin just did. They need to see that can happen regularly, not just a once in a lifetime run. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm at with this. Like, I think there's a lot of pressure on Anthony Grant to win next year. I don't think he did a bad job this year because they weren't supposed to make the NCAA tournament. The fact that they were the first team out, that's a huge deal. The fact that they were they were the last team out. It's all right. I got it. You're good. But so I think that they're ahead of schedule, but I think there's a lot of pressure next year. I mean, this town will always be a UD town, but Scott Nagy, this is his second NCAA tournament appearance. Technically, Coach Grant, none at UD. None.
One.
Fine, then one, then okay. But if that's the case, then at this point, the resume for Coach Nagy is 2 NCAA appearances and 3 NITs. Fair. And 5 championships in 5 straight years as far as regular season and conference tournaments. That's not happening at UD. And I don't care if it's a tougher conference. I don't care about any of that. Like, you got to do what you do around you. You're not winning the A-10. You're not even winning the A-10 regular season. You're not even winning the A-10 tournament. So that's all. And again, I'm doing the mistake of combating with a few negative UD fans, and I'm taking it out on the rest of the positive UD fans who have called in and said that they will be cheering on Wright State, and that I support and that I appreciate. So there you go. But anyways.
You okay?
I'm good now.
Okay.
Dude, Wright State's playing the UD Arena. How cool is that? I'm pretty jacked about that. And if I'm being annoying about it, I don't care. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I don't anticipate Wright State being in the first 4 conversation many times moving forward. So there's that.
You got the info about the open practice?
Eventually, as soon as my laptop, stops freezing on me.
I just sent it to you.
Oh, well, why don't you just read it? Why don't you tell us what, because this computer is crap.
Okay, open practice tomorrow, UD Arena from 12:50 to 1:30. Free admission. Free admission for all. Open practice. Go root on the Raiders. Wear your green.
What's that saying in radio? If it's free, it's for me?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that sounds like it's something for us right there. It's free, baby.
Free 99.
So it's a chance, of course, to go watch, the team's practice. So one more time, the times for Wright State at UD Arena tomorrow?
12:50 to 1:30. Tomorrow, open practice.
12:50 to 1:30 tomorrow at UD Arena. You'll have a chance to go watch Wright State in an open practice, free to all fans. So make sure you go and check that out ahead of their their first 4 matchup coming up on Wednesday. All right, let's dive into this, Kev. The Cincinnati Reds have gone full out rebuild mode again. I don't know. I'm torn on this. I'm going to try to spin this into a positive, and this isn't me trying to spin it in a way to sell Reds baseball on 1410 Wing AM, which is my job, but that's not what I'm doing here. I never do my job. You kidding? Reds baseball. The Reds were in a situation like right now. You got to ask yourself, and I've been accusing Bengals fans of this for a while. Like, what kind of team? Who do you want to be? I got irritated last year when people were talking about the Bengals offensive line, saying, "Well, we don't need a great offensive line. We just need average." Like, well, average? What are you striving for? Are you striving for average? Or are you striving for great? And continuously just putting up with being average is not a winning mentality. And I think that the Reds, this could be one of those situations that we look back on and say, you know what? Well, everyone was poo-pooing on this team and being negative. Maybe Nick Craw, Reds general manager, is onto something here. Maybe he is correct. Maybe he has the right idea here, Kev, because if you think about who the Reds are, I hear a lot of this at a certain point. I hear a lot of this. Well, right. Or see, you could tell I'm not good at crossing over here as far as the topics. I mean, quickly right into Reds baseball. Think about who the Cincinnati Reds were last year and the year before. Talented roster, average baseball team.
Right.
And baseball is the kind of sport that you can't commit to guys for 1 to 2 years. It's not football. Like, the NFL, you can sign a nice contract to somebody for 2 or 3 years. But in baseball, when you need the big hitters, when you need the big names, and you need to commit to them long term, and they want to commit to you long term, there's a lot that has to be in place to do that. The problem is that the Cincinnati Reds have had those pieces. They've had the Trevor Bauers, they've had the Castellanos, they've had they got the Mike Moustakas, who, by the way, would not surprise me if he's on the move coming up here soon. The Reds are in a position where they're just average, very average. And you have to, why would you commit long term? Like, I'm starting to kind of understand what the Reds are doing here. The Reds are waving the white flag saying, we give up. We failed. We failed you, the Reds fans. We failed you with this poor rebuild. We failed. And sometimes I have no problem with organizations saying that, but say it. Don't try to talk to Reds fans like they're dumb, like we're trying to they're trying to structure their revenue or their money. I forgot how it was phrased, but they're basically just it's all cute for we're rebuilding. Don't talk to Reds fans like they're dumb. They're very smart. They know what's going on. They've seen you play bad baseball for years. You're not fooling them at all. So my point with all this is just tell the Reds fans, yeah, we screwed up. One of my favorite moments at Reds Fest 2 years ago was when Bob Castellini looked at me and Mark Schlemmer and said he apologized to Reds fans. He apologized for the losing and said that the losing stops now, and it stopped for maybe half a year. But what's true? I mean, I don't know why I get uncomfortable when I'm going to say things sometimes. I'm like, I don't know why I'm afraid to just say the truth. And if they can't admit that, then I don't know what to tell you. But here it is. The Reds need to just come out and say we screwed up that last rebuild. And you know why they screwed up? They waited too long. They waited too long to move on from Todd Frazier. They waited too long to move on from guys like Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce. They waited too long. Aroldis Chapman. They moved on from Aroldis Chapman, and everyone said, oh, man, they didn't get enough back for him. But you got to go back and you got to remember where the Reds were at that time and where Aroldis Chapman was at that time. Aroldis Chapman was caught up around that time. That was around the time that the Ray Rice video had come out of him knocking out his fiance or his wife in the elevator, right? Yeah. And everyone was on edge about just how serious sports needed to start taking this and not just slapping guys on the wrist for these, off the field situations. Like, it needed to be addressed and taken serious. Well, Aroldis Chapman got in a domestic dispute that involved guns and weapons and other things, and he had no trade value. And teams who were trying to trade for Aroldis Chapman were like, we don't even know what the suspension is going to be. Now, the suspension ended up being not that bad. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't for the season or even a half a season. I think it was just about a month long or something along those lines. So the Reds fans are furious. So you could have got way more back for him. But at the time you traded him, you didn't know, and you didn't want to sit on Aroldis Chapman and end up getting nothing back. Right. So the Reds they had to roll the dice. Everything that can go wrong for that rebuild went wrong because they waited too long. The Reds learned from their mistakes, and I think that the Reds are willing to admit that, okay, Jesse Winker was a product of that rebuild. Eugenio Suarez was a product of that rebuild. Sonny Gray was a product of that coming out of the rebuild into, okay, let's hit the ground running, as was Trevor Bauer, as was Nick Castellanos. There's a reason that the second that the Major League Baseball, that the owners had ratified the new collective bargaining agreement last week and free agency hit, everyone expected, including me, that maybe the Reds would be kicking the tires on getting a new deal done with Castellanos, whose family really wanted him to stay in Cincinnati. But then reports had come out that the Reds had not even spoken to the camp of Nick Castellanos. Why would that be? Because you're not interested in marrying a guy long-term right now when you're about to blow this whole roster up. Now that the news today that they have traded Eugenio Suarez, that they have traded Sonny Gray over the weekend, and the one that really hurts me the most, trading Jesse Winker away is painful. But at the same time, I look at the situation and I say, you know what? They learned from their mistakes the last time. Trading Jesse Winker 2 years from now, 1 year from now, could have been a problem. Trading Sonny Gray at the trade deadline, if he starts out poorly, would be too late. Trading Eugenio Suarez right now, who you hope could come back and show life that he did 2 years ago, especially from those power numbers, all of those things are going through the minds of that Reds front office saying, hey, right now their stock is never going to be higher, because if we are entering a rebuild mode, we're not going to win a lot of ball games. These players' numbers aren't going to look very good because of the lack of production from around them. Their stock will never be higher than what it is now. Let's move on from them. I actually if we're going to embrace this rebuild, and we don't have a choice, so you can either be that negative guy that just throws a temper tantrum, and I'm very good at that, okay? Or you could just look at the situation at hand and try to find the silver lining in it. And the silver lining is that the Reds did not wait too long this time. They didn't wait until Suarez had little to no value. They didn't wait until Jesse Winker had no value. They didn't wait till Sonny Gray had less value. At the end of the day, this could be one of those situations where they look at Nick Lodolo coming up, they look at Hunter Green coming up, and they look at those two core pieces and say, Jonathan India, they have Hunter Green, they have Nick Lodolo, they have those three core pieces, and say, we're building around them. This might be a good thing. This might be a situation where the Reds learned from their poor rebuild the last time and are saying, you know what, let's do it right this time. But we're tired. Reds fans, we're tired. We watched what happened with the Bengals and said, that looks fun. It's our turn. Except it's not. The Bearcats were in the college football playoff. The Bengals were in the freaking Super Bowl. They just rebuilt their entire offensive line in one day, and they probably still have more moves up their sleeve. When Mike Brown takes winning more serious than Bob Castellini, that's a problem. That is. The Reds have always been the staple pro organization in Cincinnati. You know it. I know it. We all know it. That may not be the case anymore. That's sad. When the Cincinnati Bengals make the Reds look silly, that's silly to me, because there's been years where the Reds have been very, very bad and the Bengals have been very competitive, and yet everyone knew it was still a Cincinnati Reds town. I don't think that's the case anymore. Joe Burrow has come and has flipped a switch on that city that has shown the excitement of what winning can be. And I think right now that's one reason why I think Joe Burrow killed the Cincinnati Reds. Nice going, Joe Burrow. Nice stupid sunglasses and your dumb outfits and, Kid Cudi this. You ruined Reds. No, in all seriousness, I think Joe Burrow ruined Reds baseball, the plan for Reds baseball, because Joe Burrow showed the city what winning really looks like. Joe Burrow showed the city what, hey, I'm not coming here to Cincinnati to win 7 to 8 games a year and just be aight. We want to be elite. And there's nothing about that Reds roster that shows elite. Everyone out there like, well, that roster is still pretty good to compete in the NL Central. Well, that's super. Okay. And then you're going to bitch and complain when you get to the first round of the playoffs or the wild card and then get beat right away. And then wonder why. Oh, yeah, because we try to construct a roster to be competitive in a bad to average division instead of building to win a World Series. So I'm hesitant to do this, and we'll probably have egg on my face for doing this, but I'm willing to embrace the rebuild. Kev, what do you say? Because like I said, they waited too long to start the rebuild last time. They waited too long to move on from Jay Bruce and Todd Frazier and Aroldis Chapman and Brandon Phillips and company. They waited too long. Now everyone's like they're doing this too early. How could you move on from Jesse Winker, who was an all-star last year for the first time? Like he's embarking on greatness now, and now you move on from him? Wasn't that the point? Didn't we learn from the last time why you don't wait till after the run to move on from him? I think that the Reds, if rebuild is their option, that's the only option now, considering the circumstances. I'm not as down on them as what I was to start the show, because when you really start to think about it, if you're going to hit the reset button, now's the time to do it. What's the point of heading into the year being a 75 to 80 win team? You're going to flirt with the wild card just to get eliminated in the wild card, just to go right back to the same issues next offseason. This is a chance to start over. Admit that you were wrong and maybe not make the same mistakes again, because the Bengals fans, the Cincinnati Bengals, they're pulling fans away. They're showing the city what winners look like, and the Reds are running out of patience, as are a lot of fans. What little patience I have left, I'm willing to invest one more time for a rebuild. But for all that is holy, please get it right this time.
Yeah, you're right. It's a situation where if they're going full rebuild, just do it. Don't halfway do it. The team that I follow, the Cleveland baseball team, now known as the Guardians, they like to do this. They like to try to toy with the fans and say, like, no, we're not going full rebuild, and have a real dominant segment. Like the Guardians have a dominant pitching staff, or they'll have a dominant hitting staff and everything like that. And they'll flirt with the playoffs. They might even win the AL Central some years when it's so bad and everything like that. But ultimately when you get to the playoffs and you go against some dudes that can really rake like the Yankees and things of that nature, or a supreme pitching team like that, you're going to be ousted. So it's a long season. You go through the entire season only to get to the wild card and get ousted so quick. It's very frustrating, that situation. So you go to this full rebuild knowing going into the season, so fans can make plans. They can make plans to say, like, how much investment are they going to put into it? How many games are they going to go to this season? How much are they going to watch the team this season if they know it's a full rebuild and everything like that? They can make that assessment going into the season. It may not be pretty. It may not be the most entertainment thing in the world, but ultimately you hope that if you are hitting that reset button earlier than later, then it'll pay off later because, spinning your wheels is not the way to be. Like you talked about, like 80 games, ain't going to cut it, man. Like that's just middle of the pack, man. And middle of the pack doesn't do you any good. You got to be up there with 90 to 95 wins to really have a chance to win this thing, man. So 80 games, that just does you no good.
So to use a football reference here, Reds fans, I'm supporting this rebuild. I've talked myself off the ledge, not because it's my job to convince you that it's worth buying in, but you got to understand where the alternative, you got to understand where this organization is at. It's okay to say, yeah, they screwed up. They did. There's no way around it. They screwed up this rebuild. It was horrible. Just because, and that's the other thing too. Everyone thinks that a rebuild always results in a World Series, that it results in winning. Sometimes there's a bad rebuild. I always say this, that a rebuild isn't over just because you start winning. Like a rebuild's over when you start investing into the team, and the Reds started to invest into the team a couple of years ago when they acquired Sonny Gray and they got Trevor Bauer. They did the Yasiel Puig deal, and they bring over Alex. Why am I drawing a blank on the pitcher from the? I almost said Alex Smith. That's not his name. The damn pitcher from the Dodgers. I know. Either way, bottom line, the lefty. They went after all these great big pieces, and I was like, okay, the rebuild's over. Everyone's like, well, no, the rebuild's not over. I'm like, it is. When you start investing into the team, you've developed the farm pieces, and now all of a sudden it's time to fill the gaps with free agency. That's where the Reds were at. They just failed. They failed. I appreciate that the Castellanos were aggressive in going after Nick Castellanos a few years ago. I appreciated that the Castellanos in the front office, went after Moose and Mike Moustakas, of course. And it's just unfortunate because the Joey Votto situation, man, like don't be surprised. Joey Votto could be moved. I could see the Reds working and collaborating with him and sitting down and saying, we appreciate Alex Wood. Thank you. I was going to say Alex Smith. That's not right. Alex Wood. Thank you, Damon. Appreciate you coming through and doing that. But, I appreciated that they did that, but it didn't work. And it's okay to say we messed up. But what the Reds need to do to gain trust with the fan base again, Kev, is they need to admit it. I need to hear Nick Krall say we screwed up. But that's the problem because I think fans can say, they could be angry. They're angry now. They're trying to say the politically correct things and trying to have the coach speak type answers. But Reds fans, we're not dumb. We know it. We know you screwed up. And trying to pretend like you didn't. How many coworkers do you work with in life, and when they screw up and you're angry at them and all, how simple of a solution? Hey guys, my bad. I messed this up. I appreciate you taking time to help me fix this. It's easier to help someone when they do that. But when they make a mistake and then they try to sit back and point the finger at everybody else, it makes it really hard to want to sit there and help them, right? That's this. Don't talk to me like I'm dumb, Castellanos. Don't talk to me like I'm dumb, Nick Krall. Tell us you screwed up. We know it. And you sound stupid every time you try to convince us otherwise. You screwed up. So if you could tell the fans that, hey, we screwed up, our bad, we're trying to fix it. We're going to fix it right this time. That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to the Cincinnati Reds as far as where they're at heading into this rebuild. But I'm all for the rebuild as long as they do it right. And what I don't want to see is them waiting too long like they did the last time, trading Bruce and all those guys too late. They didn't get max value. Remember they had, Cueto, and they just had a lot of big names. Leak. They waited too long, and it didn't work. And they're trying to make sure that they don't do it again. So I want to use a football example here, Kev.
Touchdown. If
you're the Cincinnati Reds, do you want to be the Andy Dalton Bengals or the Joe Burrow Bengals? And what I mean by that is when the Andy Dalton, and I'm complimenting Joe Burrow here, so bear with me. The Andy Dalton Bengals were good, remember? 5 straight playoff appearances. Couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done in the playoffs. They were good, not great. They had great features about them, great defensive players, capable offensive players, with A.J. Green to come, but they weren't great. But everyone kept saying, you got to re-sign Andy Dalton because what's the alternative? Mm-hmm. It's hard to find an Andy Dalton at quarterback. So they settled for Andy Dalton, and they got what they paid for. They got what they paid for come playoff time. And then every Bengals fan is furious. 5 straight playoff appearances. We're good. We have weapons, but we're not great. And you settled for Andy Dalton. You settled for just being a good football team. And it cost you. And the fan base got impatient. And they turned on the team. And they opened the door for guys like me and others to come in and swarm and just criticize the hell out of the team. Because they deserved it. Because they settled for mediocrity. The Reds right now, I think what they're saying is we could sign Castellanos. And we could run it back. And we could be that team with David Bell that wins 75 to 85 games and flirt with the wild card and get eliminated right away. Or we could say, let's hit reset and let's look for our Joe Burrow. And it's not that easy in baseball. You don't find that one guy.
That.
But, like, you got to look for that Joe Burrow effect. And I think right now you have good pieces coming up with Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green. Obviously, just saw what Jonathan India did with Rookie of the Year. You have a mini core now to build around. Think about when the rebuild started last time. Who were those guys? Cody Reed? That didn't work out. All right. Amir Garrett. I like Amir Garrett, but he never really panned out. I mean, his biggest moment as a Red, when he's not giving up walk-off home runs in the bottom of the ninth or giving up a lead in the seventh inning, my favorite memory of him is saying, F it, and going after the entire Pirates dugout. That was my favorite dugout, but that ain't going to win you ball games.
It's lit.
I mean, but those were the highlights for the Reds over the last decade have been brawls. Not bras, brawls.
I was about to say something crazy.
I mean, again, Yasiel Puig fighting an entire roster. All right. Amir Garrett fighting an entire roster. That's the most fight we've seen from the Reds in this past decade. So, again, if you as Reds fans are angry because they didn't re-sign Nick Castellanos and they give him that money, then what do? They're the same team as last year, just average. And you want to continue, you think average is just going to turn to great out of nowhere? No. So I kind of understand where Nick Kroll and company's coming from, Kev. Why are we going to invest in a couple pieces just to appease the fans, be a 75 to 85 win team, flirt with the wild card, get eliminated, and then everyone complain because, we're not as good as fill in the blank, because they're not. And I think they're acknowledging that. And I think that's why they're hitting reset. And I think it makes sense. Don't settle. Don't sign Nick Castellanos just to appease some season ticket holders and appease some of the fans. Be an average ball club and then deal with the repercussions of the fan base turning on you at the end. Now, you may say they're turning on them now. Maybe. But right now, it gives them a chance to gain him back. If Bengals fans came back after,
everybody going to come back to a winner.
I mean, but that's my point. So for everyone out there, I'm done. I'm giving up on the Reds, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, that's fine. A good chunk of Bengals fans said the same thing. And then Joe Burrow came. All right. I mean, a lot of these people, and then all of a sudden you get Jamar Chase, and then these pieces start falling in place. I'm just saying, with Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, and Jonathan India, the Reds are a lot further along than where they were the last time they hit the reset button. We'll see. We'll see. 518-1410. Who do we have, Kev?
We got Jerry, line 3.
Jerry, how are you?
Hey, I appreciate you trying to give us Reds fans something to be positive about, but I'm sorry. Bob Castellini, can he please just sell the team? Because here's the thing. I would buy into what you're saying, Justin, and I really do appreciate you trying to be positive, man. But did he fire the
You know me. I'm not one to be negative.
Did he go out and hire the best scouts in baseball to help with this rebuild, or do we still got the same scouts who can't find the rear end with both hands? Right? This is the same scouting department that signed Akiyama to all that money, right? We were a bullpen away last year from a 90-plus win team. That's it. A couple of bullpen pieces, right? And they couldn't spend the extra $10, $15 million it would have taken to have gotten a couple decent relievers. I'm not buying it. Bob Castellini is literally it's like pre-March shot Reds ownership. It really is. So I appreciate what you're trying to do, Justin. I really do. But I have absolutely no faith in this front office. I have absolutely no faith in this ownership. And why? Because, like I said, I don't see them going out and getting a new scouting department, because obviously the one they have now is not very good.
No, and that's the concern, and that's always been the concern. And by the way, I'm with you on that. I guess I'm just trying to shrink it into the things that, like, we can't, as fans, we can't really control anything other than just not going to games and tuning in. But, we all still technically do, right? But, like, Bengals fans are saying the same thing, Jerry. And they have Mike Brown, and Bob Castellini, I think, is a better baseball mind than Mike Brown is a football mind. And I think that's what makes us even more frustrating. That's why I said earlier, the fact that that Castellini is pulling a Mike Brown here is frustrating, because I think Castellini's a better baseball mind than what he has provided here in Cincinnati. And I expected big things when he took over. And that's what's frustrating is that's the case. Like Mike Brown, you expect bad things to happen to the Bengals because of Mike Brown. He's a walking punchline. But now Mike Brown looks like a genius. And it's maybe because he was able to kind of hand off some of he was able to delegate a lot of the responsibilities and finally able to kind of take his hands-off approach a little bit. But man, the Reds, it is frustrating. I get that. But considering the circumstances, either be miserable or say, okay, what positives can come out of this. The thing is, I just don't want to be like the Pirates, where it's just every year every time they develop something, they move on from it, and that's what's frustrating. The Jesse Winker thing is kind of a kick in the you know what, because that dude they developed. They didn't have a lot of W's out of that rebuild. He's a future MVP, and the Reds just let him go, and that's the that's the one that hurts the most to me.
What did they get for him, by the way? I didn't see.
I don't have everything in front of me. This happened in the middle of the show, so my apologies, folks. Here, I could look it up just to kind of get more info. I just know that they moved on to the Mariners, is who they sent him to, and I'm sure it's a lot of farm system help.
We didn't get nothing back then.
What's that?
We didn't get nothing back then. And Justin, I appreciate what you're saying, but this ain't the NFL, man. We don't have, there's no, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback here with our first pick, and he'll be starting his rookie year. I mean, baseball players, they're not, they got to develop. They got to go through the minor leagues. You got to get them through the minors healthy, right? Look at Hunter Green. How often's he been injured? He was a can't-miss prospect. We haven't seen him throw a pitch in
That's fair.
Great American Ballpark. So this is, you can't. Mike Brown can luck into Joe Burrow, right? Because he just happened to have the worst record in the league. He can luck. The salary cap leaves people open for you to be able to sign. That ain't happening in baseball, right? In baseball, if you want to win, you got to be willing to spend some money. Let's call it like it is, and you need to be able to spend it over multiple years. And Castellini isn't doing that. We are closer to the Pittsburgh Pirates than we are the Atlanta Braves. Let's just call a spade a spade. And in this town, we shouldn't be that way. We got a fairly new stadium. We got a rabid baseball fandom when they are investing in the team. There's no reason for us to be like Pittsburgh. But Bob Castellini is making us like Pittsburgh. I'm sick of it. I'm tired. I'm not going back down to that stadium until he sells the team. That's where I'm at.
Woo. All right, Jerry. Hey, I appreciate, love the passion, man. We'll talk later. Adios.
Later, guys.
Peace. Jerry, I'm sending you free Reds tickets, by the way. I mean, look, from 2014 to 19, the Reds averaged 92 losses per season. Okay? They tried to compete that 2-year stretch, and they added players. They made some solid trades, of course. Now it's another rebuild. I mean, look, think about this team last year won 83 games. And this is who they gave. I mean, from that 83 win season, I mean, they've given up on a lot of these. So the Seattle Mariners are finalizing a trade to acquire all-star outfielder Jesse Winker from the Reds. Okay. Eugenio Suarez also a part of it. I have yet to see, again, this is from Jeff Passan earlier. Not sure how many of those names, if they've added names to it. I haven't had time to dive into it. But of that 83 win team from last year, Kev, no more Nick Castellanos, no more Jesse Winker, no more Suarez. Wade Miley, who had a great no-hitter last year and when they let him go, I was furious because it's tough to find lefties. Wade Miley was fantastic. Mm-hmm. No more Wade Miley, no more Sonny Gray, no more Tucker Barnhart, no more Michael Lorenzen. I mean, and by the way, they could have kept Michael Lorenzen. If you wanted average to below average outfield play, I don't know why you wouldn't keep Michael Lorenzen for Reds fans that were just obsessed with the fact that he was a good outfielder for a pitcher. Well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're tall for a fifth grader. I mean, what the heck does that mean? Anyways, but it's very frustrating. I get it. I can relate to the frustration, but at the same time, if a rebuild is the only option, and what I mean by only option, there's always plenty of options, but the only option that they're willing to consider, you got to at least try to look at the positive. But the Jesse Winker thing, man, that stinks. And you're a fan of the Guardians who moved on from Francisco Lindor, and every year they move on from Trevor Bauer. I mean, they get rid of star players. So you're just sitting back, just laughing like these idiots, that we didn't have a name for a while. We're a roller derby team, for goodness sakes. And these guys over here mad because, Ohio deserves better baseball. Let's just put it that way. Luckily, we have the Dragons and, of course, and the Bengals. I can't believe I'm saying this. 2 years ago, we did a topic of, is it a Bengals or a Red City? I said, the Reds make the Bengals look bad, and the Reds don't even know how to win baseball games. But now it's entered the embarrassing stage because it's tough. It's tough. And when Mike Brown looks like a genius, because of the Castellinis, that's saying something. That's saying something.
Well, I say this about my Guardians. In a few years, Tristan McKenzie, he'll be playing for the Yankees. Shane Bieber will be playing for the Dodgers because they're coming up very soon for big contracts and they're not going to pay. Even though they just get another minority owner for some cash flow to the team and everything like that. So I was hearing all this stuff about, oh, man, they're going to be buyers in early free agency and everything like that. Crickets on my timeline. So it's about to be another season of about 85 wins. The pitching doing what they do, winning games 2-1.
Man,
got my merch though. I dropped the bag on new merch though. Go Guardians.
How about this? According to Spot Track, you ready for this, Reds fans? This is how we end the show today. You want to know who's one of the highest paid players for the Reds this upcoming season? Ken Griffey Jr.
Hey, sweetest swing ever.
Richard Skinner, not Kinner, but Skinner, tweeted this out that for what it's worth, he's out of Cincinnati. He says, for what it's worth, Ken Griffey Jr. will be the 6th highest paid Reds player this season at $3.59 million.
Good times.
I mean, it's no Bobby Bonilla money, but my goodness. Man, and I can't even read some of these tweets coming in, man. The F-bomb's not, it sparked a reaction. But good for the Bengals, showing Cincinnati what a true winner looks like. And I'm not joking, and that's not me being sarcastic. It is what it is. But yeah, Joel Sherman tweets, the Mariners are acquiring Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez from the Reds. And I think I've seen a couple people tweet in some of the names of the players. I don't think it matters just because you're not going to know who any of these are. Scott Campbell says, hashtag Jerry is right. See, this is what I don't want. I don't need the Reds rebuild ticks me off because now we're saying crazy things like Jerry is right. It's Jerry. Raiders fan Jerry, not Wright State Raiders fan. Raiders fan Jerry.
Gentleman.
Who has been a part of some of the craziest moments on this show for his outlandish sports takes is now getting hashtag Jerry is right. Hashtags, are you kidding? I get hashtag Kidder is wrong for saying that the Bengals need to build up their offensive line, and then when they do it, I get hashtag Kidder is wrong, but that's what I've been saying from the beginning, and hashtag Jerry is right. Are you kidding? Jerry gets a hashtag Jerry is right before I do. Now, what kind of world are we living in? The Bengals are the best pro sports team in Cincinnati? It's really going to crush Bengals fans when Deshaun Watson goes to Cleveland, man. No, in all seriousness, if, let's say, Cleveland gets Deshaun Watson, who's better, Deshaun Watson or Joe Burrow?
Deshaun Watson.
All right, that's all we need. Have a great night, folks. That wraps it up for us. Big thanks to Wright State Hall of Famer Jim Brown for hanging out. You hear that, Bengals fans? You hear that slander right there? If the Browns get Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson?
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. It's a horrible human being, but that's what I like to hear. Football player alone, opinion-wise, come on, Browns, do it. You know you didn't just cut Jarvis Landry to, I'm just saying. You didn't do that. By the way, rather than take on $20 million a year for Cooper, you might as well have kept Jarvis for that little bit. He brings more to the table from a leadership standpoint, but man, I don't know. But you heard it here first, folks. Jake Whiting says, you're not getting Deshaun. The trade talks are dead. That's what you want to believe. That's just what they want you to believe, Jake. Don't worry. If you guys can't even beat Baker Mayfield, what makes you think you're going to even touch Deshaun Watson?
Counting those chickens before they hatch, man.
Nobody's going to touch Deshaun Watson because his ass could be suspended for more than half the damn season coming up. But, folks, great show today. Appreciate everybody. We'll see where the Reds go from here. A big day for the Cincinnati Bengals, finally addressing that offensive line, man. You know who deserves that? Bengals fans, you deserve it. Joe Burrow deserves it. That mofo deserves that O-line more than anybody out there. So, all right, have a great night. We'll do this again tomorrow. Until tomorrow, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty and Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street.
It's the Justin Kinner